match today between Australia and Sri Lanka, and we've welcomed the teams out onto the field. Sri Lanka, of course, led out by their captain, Mahele Udawate, just over there, and Australia by James Nanopoulos, who I had the pleasure of chatting to at the coin toss just before. Now, before we get this game underway, I'd like to invite two very important people to have a chat. We've got Cassandra Fernando, the federal member for Holt, and Pauline Richards, the state member for Cranbourne.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Cassandra Fernando. I'd like to start off by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I would also like to acknowledge my state colleagues. We've got Pauline Richards, member for Cranbourne, Gary Mars, member for Narre South, Emma Woolen, member for Pakenham, and Lee Talamas, member for South Eastern Metropolitan Region. Holt covers the areas of Narre South, Cranbourne, Clyde, Lyndhurst and Lynbrook, and the cricket game is played in our electorate, so we're very, very excited. Today is not just about a great day for our community, but a fantastic one for cricket fans just like me in Holt. There are two things that I always say that bring people together, which is food and sport. Just recently we had the ICC T20 World Cup, but little did they know we would have our own little community-led World Cup right here in Casey Fields. I'm given to understand that this tournament involves both international and domestic players. So welcome to you all, and lovely to see Sri Lanka and the Australian cricket team. It's truly because community efforts like the Aussie Cricket League that we can encourage more diverse Australian cricket team. I am sure that one day many Australian cricketers will be those who had their debut at this tournament. I know that this is because of the support of all of you provided each other and because of the talent each player brings to the game today. Thanks a lot to Harry Singh and the rest of the organising team for inviting me to be a part of this event. And I would also like to finish by saying, no matter how each match goes, it is important to remember that organising a fantastic volunteer community tournament like this, it's a real sixer. So thank you very much. Hand over to Pauline.
Hi, I'm Pauline Richards and I'm the local state member of Parliament. So I'd also like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on, the people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. It's wonderful to be here with so many members of our terrific community, but particularly like to acknowledge that here we have Australia and Sri Lanka facing off against each other. But I know that this tournament is really representing the best of our community. So we have players from Afghanistan, Australia, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan and the World Club as well, playing against each other. Sport does bring everyone together, and I think the way that Cassandra captured that is really important, that this is the way that people feel connected to each other, and especially in the context of our community where we have so many diaspora communities here, that sport is the way that people get connected to their neighbours, as well as a great way for children to participate. So I'm here with my fellow colleagues from the State Parliament, and as Cassandra pointed out, we've got Gary Lee Talamas and Emma Woolen. So we're all here to acknowledge the importance of cricket, the importance of sport, the importance of community, and to thank the organisers for such a terrific day. And thank you, Cassandra, for being here to represent the federal government. Thank you.
Well, thank you both to Cassandra and Pauline and all of our members of Parliament that have made it here today. And thank you to you guys, our cricketers, who are going to be entertaining us today for today's T20 match here at Casey Fields. So without further ado, if you're able, please stand as we head into the national anthems of both Sri Lanka and Australia.
Good afternoon and welcome to Field Grand. Australia and Pakistan, those four teams again involved, and Dan Lonigan. Anthems of Australia and former T20 and one-day cricketer. His father Trevor played Test cricket for Australia back. Nathan Reid played 2 T20 internationals. National bowl. सामने वाले मीडियम के नीचे टैली से मैं जाऊं ऊपर फिर ये दोनों इधर आएंगे.
It is. Good afternoon to everyone, and obviously fantastic day. You got the rivalry. It's a great flavour for cricket. We had a lot around last week. Time around pretty but likely to be a pretty good week the whole way through. Options at the moment. Some time against England at before international overseas.
प्लीज कर दो, मुझे पहुंचने में टाइम लगे। मेरा कैमरा नंबर कितना है एक बार बताएंगे?
By sending Sri Lanka in. Like pitches out.
मैं जा रहा हूँ, ऊपर ही जा रहा हूँ, ठीक है? जा तो रहा हूँ, ऊपर ही हूँ, इस पर देखो ना, ऊपर कर रहा हूँ सीधे ऊपर ही। अरे बस इतना ही है, इतनी हाइट पे जाऊँगा मैं। या मेरा यस मुझे मुझे पूरा फॉलो करना है ना, आगे से लेके जाने तक। हेलो हेलो हेलो
quick, getting drafted in. Yeah, definitely stayed down. He kind of rocked, got halfway through the shot. Quite had that bounce on him. So very blustery.
Matthew Lath-Mudali. It is blustery. And as I say, if he's going to go on the onside here, and there's a deep backer with square, Dean McDonald, a local boy from Cranbourne, it'll fall short. As I said, if he wants to hit with the wind, he'll have to carve it for one of those extraordinary shots over cover.
24 degrees in Cranbourne today, but the wind a little bit of chill factor.
Here's Sharma in again. Athula Madali beaten outside the off stump. And that's good bowling by the right-hander.
Sharma started well. Through the bat a couple of times. So 3 singles from the 8 deliveries. Been well controlled with 1 leg by in there as well.
Sam Newell, the wicket keeper. Sharma bowls again. He's hit on the pad. He played across the line. I've got a feeling he might have been going down the leg side. I'm not sure there was any bat on that. There certainly wasn't. He pleaded Sharma with the umpire. The umpire said not out, and it's none for 5 in the second over. Yep. We've got the third umpire in place here again, which we had last year. It's good to have him with us. No, he did not. He'll be hoping he can just sit here and watch the game and listen to us waffle on Dash.
Do plenty of that. So no runs against Sharma yet. Obviously just that 1 leg by. Those interested in that test match too. South Africa bowled Australia out with a deficit of 66, but there are now 2 for 3.
Are they really?
Yeah, still well and truly on top.
Wow. Could be over today. This is down the leg side, and it's a wide from Sharma. Now, the Sri Lankans last year lost their first game and they bowled a few medium paces. Then for the rest of the tournament, they bowled 1 over at medium pace and resorted to spin and went on to win 3 games in a row. There was a player called Kalapotra who's available now to play for Victoria. He played for Casey South Melbourne. He was the captain. He played a game of cricket on every day last week leading into Christmas. Just loves it. This ball's carved through the offsides, outside the off stump from Sharma. It will be collected inside the boundary, and they'll come back for a couple. That's a nice cover drive by the right-hander Mahodi. The best shot of the day so far, and it's none for 7 Sri Lanka after they were sent into bat in the second over.
It's funny you speak about spin. We were always told when T20 cricket emerged nearly 20 years ago or thereabouts that it might be the death of spin, particularly off spin. Spin bowling has been the most effective weapon in that format.
Sharma bowls again, and this is flicked away down to deep backward square. It was on the line of the stumps, and he played that nicely, standing tall in his crease, Mahoti. And the rolling of the wrist too, which the players with subcontinental background in cricket are very good at. None for 8 in the second over. Oh, by a fair way, yeah. Especially in Australia, on the Australian pitches, he could do that better than anyone, couldn't he? He loved the bounce. Oh, yeah, and that's where he came of age, wasn't it? At the start of the century. Now, he gets himself all tangled up here, the left-hander. And he, well, was safe, but the question was asked by Sharma the last ball of the over. He looked to turn it on the onside, and it just dropped at his feet as it hit him just above the flap of the pad. Athulath Mudali. So he's struggling a little bit. He's only got 1. Mahoti has made a better start so far with 4, and it's none for 8 after 2 over Sri Lanka.
Yeah, with a couple of lead buys and a wide obviously in there as well. Just adjusting the scoreboard as we speak. But yeah, Mahoti has been handling the pace a little bit more. To Mudali, he's been beaten for pace a couple of times. Nanopoulos is going to continue to bowl a second of his 4 overs.
Many of these Sri Lankans have had first-class experience in their home country. Nanopoulos bowls, and this one takes the top of the bat, a little bit more pace than he anticipated, short of a length. Took a hand off the bat, but he still controlled it okay, the right-hander Mahoti. He's 5, actually, it's none for 9 as we start the third over. Lots of sponsors too. We'll update you with those right throughout the day as part of this magnificent tournament organised by Harry Singh, the Australian Cricket League, for the 2nd year in a row.
Well, to keep that down, obviously.
He did. Nanopoulos in again, barrel-chested, dropping it at the bowler's feet to again a ball short of a length. And he's working away. He's a terrific bowler. I remember in a match against the Monash Hawks a couple of years ago, they were winkled out a bit like the Sydney Thunder for under 30, and he took 8 for 11. Nanopoulos for Dandy Dong.
It's impossible to fathom that. A team, what we saw the other day, a team that he rolled for 15. I think that one guy would get away a couple of times.
Never looked like it, did they? Here's Nanopoulos, and he advances and gets an inside edge here. Mahoti, and Nanopoulos, with that heady experience that he's got, was able to bowl the Yorker length delivery as Mahoti was on the Matthew Hayden walk, and he got the bottom edge of the bat and it rolled to the wicketkeeper Newell, and there's no run. So none for 9 in the third over.
Very controlled start by the Australians from both ends. There's been no loose delivery apart from that one leg side wide.
A catcher at short, straight mid-wicket and short, straight cover. This is down the leg side. Nanopoulos loses his line and length there. Going down the leg side. Another extra on the board, and it's none for 10.
Yeah, the margin for error is so small, as we know in limited overs cricket. It could be missing leg stump by a coat of paint, and the arms will go out. I always wonder whether that's... Obviously, they're trying to deny that negative bowling, but I wonder whether that's just a little bit too harsh. I mean, that was a legitimate ride, but...
I hope we don't get any offside wides. I'm not a great fan of those. Here's Nanopoulos in again, bowls, and Mahoti is on the walk again. He lofts it over the cover region. He didn't get all of it. It bounces in front of the fielder at whitish mid-off, and he manages to get 1 run. Again, Nanopoulos saw him coming. Instead of bowling it short of a length, he was looking for the Yorker and sort of got it and didn't quite get it in the middle of the bat, Mahoti. He moves to 6. It's none for 11 in the third over.
Wilson doing the fielding. So Sri Lanka have kept the wickets obviously intact. No carnage on that front, but struggling to get it away.
Now this is pulled away in front of square on the onside. Good fielding from deep backward square. As again, it was a shortish delivery, and he was able to swivel on his crease. Athulath Mudali, and he gets a run. He's only got a couple so far.
I'll go sit out near the DJ. Hopefully the microphone will work out there.
But his team are none for 12.
Going at about 4 and over, obviously sent in by Australia, who want early strikes, so there's a run rate under control, but Sri Lanka still with all 10 in the shed.
Here's Nanopoulos in again. He bowls a slower delivery that takes the bottom of the bat of Mahoti. The wicketkeeper Newell tried to stop it, couldn't. Good piece of fielding from the fielder at a squarish third man position. He came around and stopped it millimetres from the rope here at Cranbourne, and they come back for 2. But again, that was good bowling. He slowed it down, and you could see that Mahody was ready to try and drive it and realised he couldn't do much with that. He virtually missed it, and it might have just taken the tail end of the bat dash, and he gets a couple of runs. Yeah, none for 14 after 3 overs.
Game cricket, that's probably the ball of the innings so far, and it's almost gone to the boundary. Just with
Yeah.
a little bit of misfortune, so the under part of the bat almost jammed it into the ground. Well fielded in the deep. So if you get to find the ropes, obviously inside the first 5 overs, you want to cash in when the fielder is up.
Australians bowling to their field. Sharma in again from the Cranbourne end. Athu Madali pulls this one. Talking of finding the ropes, Darren Park, and I think they've found it this time through mid-wicket. Just a bit short there by Sharma, and he was able to latch onto it. Athu Madali.
That was in the air probably 50% of the way.
Yeah, it was, but safe.
Yeah, they've got 2 fielders out on that side, so obviously picked the gap. They've got one in square leg and one in sort of a whitish mid-on. And it went through that mid-wicket region, well controlled, and I feel better. He's been struggling to get that on ball when he gets the first boundary of the innings.
None for 18. This is the 4th over. And the left-hander, Athu Madali, with no slip in place. And here's Sharma in again, bowls. He's been bowled right through him. Great delivery by Sharma. He was looking to pull that one through the onside, hit it over the field. As we've said, the fielder's up for the power play, and he was right through him, and Athu Madali departs for 6. Australia get the first wicket. It's in the 4th over, and Sri Lanka a 1 for 18.
I wonder whether there was a slight adjustment to the field after that previous boundary where they pushed the mid-on out to the deep mid-wicket boundary, then a similar ball, and whether he's just been conscious of the fielder in the deep, tried to adjust the shot a little bit late, got beaten for pace, and a great response. Obviously you hit for 4, first boundary of the innings, and then go straight through and hit the peg for the next one. It's a really important early wicket. If you send the opposition in, you've got to strike early to justify the decision, and they've done that.
Absolutely. It was good bowling right on line. Bowling to his field on the offside. He was looking to play across the line, as a lot of players do in T20 cricket, Dash. We do know that. And Athu Madali, who, as I say, is one of many players who's played first-class cricket in Sri Lanka. And he's out for 6, and it's 1 for 18.
Very experienced combination they've got at the crease now. And these two have got to carry them a fair way. They want to be there. They take them as close to the halfway point of the innings as they can.
Well, Udawade, he's actually played some T20 cricket for Pines in the MPCA and got a very good half-century a couple of weeks ago in the Jack Peacock Cup. He played 2 tests, 23 runs at 5.75. He made his one-day debut, Dash, back in 2008. Didn't really take his chance, 2 half-centuries, an average of under 20, and then got a chance to play Test cricket again. Didn't take that opportunity, but he was also picked in the T20 side. So he's a left-hander, the captain. He faces Sharma. He's beaten outside the off stump as he looks at the big square drive.
For those AFL fans out there, you mentioned Pines, home of Nathan Burke, coach of the Western Bulldogs AFLW team, and St Kilda legend.
One of the greats.
Very good cricketing area, that Frankston Peninsula region. Not far from where we are now.
Here's Sharma in again, bowls, and it's dropped away into the offside, just behind point. And they managed to go through for a single again. The good lowering of the hands by Mahela Udawade, the captain.
Yeah, you're right. It's very much a feature of subcontinental batsmen when they travel all around. Very risky.
Mahela Jaya Warden was risky, but my favourite all-time cricketer, Kumar Sangakkara, probably wasn't.
Unbelievable player.
Oh, he was one of the greats. Mind you, Jaya Warden was a sensational player too. I don't think he gets enough credit because he played with Sangakkara,
Yeah,
but he was a superstar too.
throwing Sangakkara's work with the gloves as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Here's Sharma, standing tall on the crease and getting one down the leg side, which he took the pace off a bit then, Sharma. And Mahody didn't have to play at it. There's an extra ball, extra run on the board for Sri Lanka, 1 for 20 in the 4th over.
Kumar Sangakkara, Sri Lanka chasing a huge total at Hobart, might have been 450
Yes.
odd
He made 191.
Yeah, and he was probably unlucky to be given out.
It was off the helmet by the, well, I called him the poison finger of Rudy Kurtz.
They put the slow finger.
Yes.
They put on 60 or 70 for the last wicket.
Ricky Ponting was relieved, I think, and he thought, well, it wasn't out. Now he gets an edge to the next one. If first slip was there, he would have gobbled that. But first slip wasn't there, and he gets 4 runs to one that was outside the off stump. And it was one of those intended edges. He may have tried to change the shot if he knew first slip was there, but he played that pretty well. Then the lowering of the hands, he angled the bat and got the boundary, working it through the vacant slips cordon. 1 for 24 in the 4th over.
Normally going to get boundaries through that region in T20 cricket. I was thinking of
Through third man.
Thinking of the Sri Lankans to make Test centuries in Australia. Obviously, Aravinda De Silva did it in the 89-90 series, the first Sri Lankan to do that on Australian soil.
The Guru in 1995, the day that Murali got called by Darryl Hare. Yeah.
In a Boxing Day Test.
Dropped into the onside by Mahoti.
Jayawardena made 100 in Australia, and certainly Sangakkara did.
Oh, yes. He made, what, 3 or 4 hundreds in a row in the 2015 World Cup in his last hurrah. Oh, he's one of the greats. Mahoti drops the next ball into the onside and he gets a run. And so he'll keep the strike. He's 13. Udawade has 1. We've bowled 4 overs, 1 for 25. The man out. And he got bowled by Sharma. And that was Amal Athulath Mudali.
I think both of those players we mentioned at the start, De Silva and Gurusina, have played district cricket in Melbourne.
Yes. De Silva played at Paran.
Yes.
For quite a while. He was an outstanding player.
The 1 for 25, so run rate up above a run a ball, but they have lost a wicket.
Here's Ben Lachlan it, and this delivery dropped away.
Leading wicket taker in Big Bash history, isn't he? I think that's close to the mark.
Yes, he is. The veteran.
Played for a number of Big Bash clubs.
He has.
He's taken a stack of wickets. Hurricanes, obviously one of those teams, Adelaide.
Yep. Brisbane.
Yep.
Square drive here, beats the cover fielder out to deep cover. And they come back for 2. Mahoti, slightly wide of the off stump from Lachlan. And played some T20 cricket and also one-day cricket for Australia. And his father, Trevor, played test matches during World Series cricket for the establishment. Opened the bowling with Jeff Thompson in the final test in Jamaica in 1978. Here's Ben Lachlan again on the walk. Mahoti gets a good delivery that he has to check his stroke and push into the offside. And Jeff Thompson tells a great story in his book where he said, I like Larry Lachlan, he was a good bloke, but I wanted to play with my mates with the greatest respect. It wasn't like opening the bowling with Dennis Lilly. Or Mad Dog Callan, who was injured, who didn't play at all in that series. Here's Lachlan, bowls again, well up ball. He's just great variety in his pace, and he can change up any delivery.
He's quick between balls.
He is.
Reading about the Colin Cowdrey test return from the 70s.
Oh, one of the great stories.
Jeff Thompson bowling, and he just comes out and he's like, oh, good morning, Mr. Thompson, I'll be facing you today. And it's very polite.
This is turned away on the onside. They'll run with the shot. He might have been in trouble there, the captain.
And that should have been over.
Yes.
He followed through too much on the run first.
They did.
Almost to the boundary.
Yeah, it has. There was a fielder, of course, out on the offside for the right-hander, a deep cover, mid-wicket for the left-hander, right on the boundary, who did the fielding. But he had to stretch hard to get home for the throw,
And obviously they
coming from square leg.
run out, and then that gave away any chance of getting a second run, which they could have got there.
16 to Mahoti, 1 to Udawade, facing Ben Lachlan. Yes, I think Tomo said to Dennis Lilly, who's this? We won't go any further with that. Here's Lachlan in again. He thought he's a nice bloke, though. Again, he takes sort of his hand off the bat and was trying to almost leave that one. Allowed the ball to hit the bat. It was through the slips cordon and out to a deep gully region on the offside. Good bowling by Lachlan, getting a little bit of swing on this wicket. And he manages to get a second run, Udawade, to complete the over. So 5 overs gone so far. We're going to have a change of commentary. It's good to see that Mahoti is in. They've lost 1 wicket so far, and the man out for 6, bowled by Sharma, was Athulath Mudali. And it is 1 for 28 with Mahoti on 16, Udawade on 2, And 5 overs gone, 1 for 28. I'll hand you over to Darren Parkin, and also joining you in commentary, great to have him with us, is Suhas Vedam.
So it is 1 for 29 off 5 overs, so just a tick under a run of ball at the moment. Two very experienced players at the crease, Uduwati and Mahodi. Mahodi's look pretty good, getting to 16 at this stage. That's gone straight up in the air. That should be taken. They're coming around and it's been dropped. Well, it was swirling around. That's the perils of this wind at the moment, with the ball swinging around in the air all over the place. They had the bowler, they had mid-wicket, they even had the keeper coming in. And there was a bit of a conference as to who was going to take it. And you probably offer a degree of generosity there. That was a very difficult take. Marinich put that one down. Thoughts of Suhas on that in a moment. Batsman didn't even run. They just assumed that was good night. It's now pushed down the ground and they pick up a run for that. Suhas, very difficult. We look at a catch like that and think that really should be taken. And whilst that's right, we also look at how much the wind is swirling things around out there.
Yeah, but I thought he never was under that. It was a little dodgy for him. Did have his hands in the right position eventually, but the ball slipped through.
Continuing here, and that one is again worked beautifully down the ground, and it's actually gone all the way. It's landed just over the rope. It was the first maximum of the innings, and they moved to 1 for 37.
A beautiful hit indeed. Such a clean strike, and he's chosen a very safe area too. Yes, he's also realized which way the wind is blowing. You hit it with the wind, the ball goes absolutely out of here. Just love the fact that he picks up length early, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He's looked really comfortable coming out of the crease. Obviously, he was nearly on his way a moment ago.
Yeah, what that 6 has also done is brought a lot of Sri Lankan fans into the ground once again. That's one way to send a message.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the flags. We actually saw a couple of them emerge out in front of our commentary box at the moment. It's fantastic support for Sri Lanka every time they play, particularly in Victoria. As it's Durban again continuing, and that one's worked in the air through the offside, but into the gap between the cover fielder and that very strong call to come back for the second, an early call demanding that his teammate go with him, and he gets the double there, and moves along to 11.
Darren, how much of skill and how much of trust was involved in the second run? Was an afterthought?
Yeah, he just basically backed himself in, saying, no, you're coming, he's the skipper and they've got to listen, and he was going to the danger end, and fair enough. He wants the strike, and again he's hit that in the air, and on reflection he should have stayed with that single, because by keeping the strike he's now cost himself his wicket by flicking that one up into the onside. Comfortably taken. He gave 2 chances to the field in that over, and they took the second one, 2 for 39.
Yeah, the counter attack doesn't last long. Felt like he almost checked the shot in the end. A simple catch in the end. And it's going to be a long walk back, especially knowing about the possibilities of playing a longer innings, because he was getting it from the middle of the bat more often than not.
For 11, came pretty quickly. Unfortunately, a little cameo there. It's 2 for 39, and Durban having an impact. Nearly got a wicket first ball, then he got hit for 6 second ball, and then he gets the wicket at the end of the over. So that's a terrific response for Australia as that partnership was starting to build. 2 for 39 as we approach the end of an opening 6 overs, which is so significant in a T20 match. And to have a couple of batsmen back in the shed, be well pleased with their work to this stage, particularly given who they've been able to get. So last ball of this over coming in is Solomon's. It's the new batter at the other end. Mahodi on 17, who's looked pretty sharp. Solomon's first ball is defended watchfully back down the track to complete that over, which produced 9 runs and a wicket, 6 overs down, 2 for 39. Suhas, how are you reading the start of this game? Sri Lanka going at about 6.5 and over, but obviously with 2 down, probably advantage Australia.
The power play done and dusted with. Yes, I'll tell you what, it's a decent power play. Reason being, even though they lost a couple of wickets, they They were at it. They wanted to go for the big shots more often than not. Wanted to utilize the fact that the cushion on the boundaries is just two players.
So they lose a bit of that cushion now. Power play done. Bit of a conference between the Australians as to how tactically they're going to play this one now. Lachlan out there directing a little bit of traffic as well. We've got James Nanopoulos. We're going to have spin introduced here for the first time that we've seen. Looks like it's going to be
Number 7.
coming into the attack for Australia. Angaran. And it's worked first ball there for a run, so it's 2 for 40. First ball was single? Yeah. Is that right number?
The time for spin. I was listening to your conversation with Darren, you talked about the efficacy of a finger spinner,
yes,
especially in this format of the game. Let's see what Angaran's up to.
Yeah, that ability to bowl flat and quick little darts that are very hard to get away. Obviously, it can go badly wrong for them. But just that requirement of accuracy, and it's, again, quick skidding ball, no run. So at the moment, Mahoney handling things pretty comfortably at the non-strikers end on 18. The spinner comes in again, and that's swept from outside off stump, turned behind square on the onside, and they get a single off the mark.
What I like about Angaran is the fact that he's a little unfazed. No worries. Loves to toss the ball up. Gets a bit of drift with the wind blowing across the ground, left to right.
That is the bravery of spinners to toss it up in this format, knowing that batsmen want to come after you. That was just nudged down to a shortish mid-on and no run.
What do you think about the captain's decision to give him more protection, waiting for Angaran to roll his arm over only when he can offer more protection to him? The power play ends.
And with a new batter at the crease as well. So obviously they got rid of Uruwadi, and then comes in on the other end with one batsman set and the other not set.
McDonald's been posted at long gone because there have been signs of dancing down the track.
Yeah, he came dancing down the track and then went back into his crease and tried to play a late cut through that vacant slips region and played and missed instead. And that was, he hasn't had a lot of missed shots, doesn't want to do a miss too often, but did that time. Last ball was the 7th over, the first of spin in this innings. Just the 2 runs from it, and that was painfully close to being caught behind. Went after one again. You can just tell by the reaction, the keeper, just how close that was. 7 overs down, it is 2 for 41. Just the 2 runs from it. That's a very tidy start for young Angaran, the spinner. Captain giving him that opportunity straight out of the power play with a bit more protection. Interesting to see what they again do at the other end. Obviously, Durban took the wicket in the previous over, the most eventful over of the innings, with a drop catch of 6 and then a dismissal. I think that that'll earn him another opportunity from the, I guess, the main Casey Fields end of the playing arena, where you often see Casey Demons, Melbourne's VFL affiliate, and Melbourne's AFLW team play. So 2 for 41, the run rate just creeping below 6. Body on strike. And that one's left outside off stump and well wide. That's why that one was left alone. And Dan spoke a little bit earlier about those wides outside off stump, and you get the first of the innings.
Yeah.
He's a wicket taker. That was just drop and run on the offside. I've seen a bit of that, obviously, with the field spread a bit. Suhas gives them the opportunity to just pick up those cheap runs.
Absolutely, and the fielders are at the edge of the 30-yard circle. They aren't taking a big start either.
No,
And one of the better things that we saw in that run as well, even though he was deep inside the crease, it was his call. He knew exactly how hard he's hit it, and he almost calculated the run halfway through.
Soft hands, and obviously the same page as his partner as that one's pushed down through the vacant mid-off region to the fielder in the deep, and they can stroll down for an easy one. 19, Solomon's on 2, the new batsman at the crease. Coolers taking that catch in the previous over. He's obviously calling the shots. As a skipper at this stage, it's a well-bowled, fuller delivery that's just jammed down into the pitch, and again with the field sufficiently spread on the circle, that's easy pickings for a single.
At the end of the day, the keeper had to sign up for it.
Absolutely, had to take the gloves off.
Yeah.
So that was mine, and he's obviously a fair way back as well. Saw Alex Carey take that catch in the Test match against the West Indies on pure reflex, as that one's a little straight and turned through mid-wicket. And again, good confident running between the wickets. 2 was always the call, and they do it comfortably.
A direct hit doesn't disturb furniture much, but just enough to send a statement to the opposition. If you want to take my throw on, be very careful.
Absolutely right. We've seen that in the previous overs with some of the fielding changes. They've been consciously aware of that. And to have a direct hit from the outfield will make you think once or twice if they're taking on that player. In the 8th over, 4 runs off this one so far. Continuing in as that one is pushed down through mid-off and no run. So Reardon, veteran, represented Australia, played a lot of domestic cricket in this country. So we're at 2 for 46. Continuing again straight, and that one's turned past the square leg umpire, and this time they don't take on the arm, and probably fair enough. It's been a good, productive over though from this pair. 6 runs from 5 deliveries, working it around nicely. We've only had the 2 boundaries and 1 6 across the first 8 overs of this innings.
That's all I right. 2 for 4.
8 into the over. I must say, I love seeing the Sri Lankan flags in the crowd. It is one of the great sights. It's a fantastic flag, and obviously the Sri Lankan contingent that usually get out of the MCG when they play Australia is tremendous. So Kangaran will get a second over a spin here. So they've used 6 bowlers, the Australians, through the opening period here.
You can check with him that guys are scoring there. Cross check and you can update.
So spin to continue. Bowling around the wicket, coming down the track and biting off more than he can chew. He swung, he missed, it hit, and he's gone.
A simple case of you miss, I hit. Again, just slower than the batter anticipated. Dancing down the track, wanted to give the ball a huge whack, perhaps targeting mid-wicket. Little did he know the ball sneaks through, disturbs the crown of the stumps called the Wales. End of story, another one bites the dust for Sri Lanka 11. Now they've got to take a call, whether they consolidate with a partnership or will this brash approach continue.
So Pereira, the new batter at the crease, it's a really significant dismissal in the context of the innings. Looks pretty comfortable getting to 21. And we saw in the previous over twice he almost got an outside edge to lower quicker deliveries, and clearly that was in the head of the batsman, and they took him on coming down the track, missed, and this time it was accurate, and the off stump goes back.
He's also identified the right length to be bowling on this track, because that hit the top of the stumps. Anything slightly shorter, that would have missed the stumps, even though that would have been a stumping opportunity. But at times, you do not let the batter become a candidate for LBW.
That's right, and obviously it's a terrific win for a spinner to completely deceive a batsman like that. It wasn't a case of straight up false shot. You dragged it out of his crease, you bowled it sufficiently full that it's been able to get through and hit the stumps. Changes of pace and variety, and it's we were talking about. So 3 for 48 now, very much advantage Australia in the 9th over.
You look at this surface, where exactly?
Solomons, it was out.
It looks like we're playing on the centre pitch, isn't it?
Yes.
On either side, the batter doesn't get an undue advantage, saying now the leg side's shorter. And I just love the way Angeran's using the angles here to entice the batter to try and go in the gap, but to access the gap, he needs to venture out.
Looking at that out there, so the scoreboard did adjust and has listed that it was Mahody that is out, but Mahody is definitely in the middle, so it's Solomons that is out. Still got the number 84 out of the pitch at the moment.
When was the last time in T20 you saw a second innings for a batter?
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, Sydney Thunder could have been asked to follow on the other night. It probably still would have. I think even they themselves
Oh, would you believe?
saying when's the second innings starts. I think Adelaide played along, saying can we put him back in?
Yeah. The wind doesn't die down here, does it? You've covered a lot of games here, yeah.
I'm a resident of Cranbourne.
Yeah.
It's, when it sets in, it sets in. So confirming that it was Solomons who was dismissed. Pereira is the new batter. Mahody, who's been there since the start, remains at the crease. 3 for 47, 8.1 overs.
Boys, if you need confirmed score, check with us. Yes.
So continuing around the wicket, second ball of his second over has figures of 1 for 2. Been a very good start. Pereira goes low in the crease and then cuts it down into the ground on the bounce in the offside. Mahody calls him through and goes down for a single.
Yeah, for the first time ever since Angeran started to bowl, the batters decided to rock back on the back foot and meet the ball.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They've been all over the place really, and we saw really a horrible dismissal for Solomon's got himself into a mess. So continuing again. Mahody plays back into crease, but hits that 2 directly to the sort of short backward point, if you will, and no run. Short third man.
Now, irrespective of the batter's interception point, whether dancing down the track or meeting it almost off the keeper's glove, the pace at which Angeran's bowling hasn't changed a bit.
No, it hasn't. It's just been variations in flight and length as that one's driven along the carpet down through mid-on to the deep fielded there by McDonald, who's covering this boundary in our commentary position. Just a single.
Sometimes the accuracy of a bowler almost makes you feel there are 22 men on the field.
Absolutely. Been a really good start from the spinner, backing up the work of his quicks. We've got some breakthroughs during the power play. That one's tossed up again and driven back to the bowler and just half volleys. Very, very close to picking himself up a caught and bowled there in the follow through, and you could tell a little grimace as he landed. He knew that wasn't far away.
Is that a myth, or the fielders of their best bowling, the bowlers?
I know a lot of people have always said you just cannot drop one of your own bowling. You create the chance, make sure you take it. Very, very good bowling. A couple of terrific overs from Angeran. Picked up a wicket in that one. He's only conceded the 3 runs as well. It's 3 for 48. 3 for 49 it is rather. So we're 9 overs down. Reardon to continue. It was the 6th bowler utilised at the other end. Previous. Swinging the changes. Australians. So how would you approach this if you were Sri Lanka? Would it be a case of you've still got to be proactive, or build a partnership for 3 or 4 overs and, you know, run a ball and just try to stabilise things a bit?
Yeah, you've got to throw caution to the winds here, to be honest. You want both of them to get settled a little bit, understand what the surface is offering as well, before they can launch into the big shots. They need stability. A period of calm, perhaps 3 overs would do. Yep. And once you get that momentum, we've so very often seen in this format, that you can shift it in your favour once you have even a little bit of momentum.
Still got a bit of bowling to come, obviously. That one is pushed back down the ground and no run.
You look at the Australian.
Back into the attack.
You look at the Australian side there, Darren, and you say you're spoiled for choice. Everybody can roll their arm over.
There's a lot of depth. And that one's pushed through mid-wicket. There's a bit of a gap there. Are they going to take on the field as they've done earlier in the innings? No, just the one on that occasion. So particularly for someone like Mahodi here, who's established at the crease, but hasn't had the support that he would have liked out there, as to whether the senior player at the crease, the player that's set, is the one that accelerates whilst the other tries to build into the innings. Not a lot of room to move in this format of the game. Pereira on strike. Another left-hander.
So it was a single second ball.
And Pereira just jams that one down into his leg and no run.
Very watchful. Typical of a batter playing it early in the innings, even though it's coloured clothing. Sometimes are you tempted to hit with the wind?
Yeah, there'd be an absolute temptation, which can create false shots, but we know it's very blustery out there. And that one is launched long, and has it been caught in the deep? It has, brilliantly on the dive. Superbly taken. And it's 4 for 49. Confidence continues to grow. And it is the man who's probably been the pick of the bowlers so far, Angaran, who goes in low and hard at it and takes a very nice catch. And Pereira, the latest to succumb, 4 for 49.
Just as we speak about having the temptation to go for the big shot, he's gifted this catch. I think he did really well to cover the distance quickly, the fielder in the deep. But immediately he realized the ball was also dying on him. You're in two minds, isn't it, whether to put the dive or to try and take it on the bounce.
Yeah, you get a lot of fielders that get caught in that where they're, do I dive knowing that this could get through me and go for 4? Do I stay back and allow it to bounce? He judged that beautifully. Skure that comes in. Quite a lot of cricket with Footscray in the Victorian Premier Cricket competition. Played twice in their senior side this year. Of course, Footscray, for those joining in, the home of Swerve and Mervyn Hughes. Donovan, who debuted in the late 80s in I think the same series as Ian Healy against the West Indies. And has obviously been a huge factor in Victorian cricket for a long time.
That's Durban.
Right, another quality spinner for Victoria / Australia.
Who's the bowler?
Part, I believe, of that 1986 Thai Test series. So a couple of balls left in the over. Durban's picked up a couple of wickets.
Yeah, Reardon bowled a previous over from that end. That's Durban.
So they've been swinging the changes at that far end. Durban, then Reardon. Durban again now, who's drawn the false shot a couple of times. That's a fuller delivery that's flicked down towards the fine leg boundary, and they'll take just the one run. So a couple of balls left in the 10th over, approaching the halfway point of the innings. The score at the moment is 4 for 51.
Max is going to
And he pushes that one down to wideish mid-off and hurting himself a little bit in the field there as he parried it down to long off. And he's just a little bit slow to get up there. Nanopoulos, who's just landed a little bit awkwardly there. He's still picking himself up. I think he might have almost slid in and landed on the ball. Appears to be okay now. And that brings an end to the 10th over, the halfway point of the innings. Sri Lanka find themselves at 4 for 51. Suhas will take you through the next 5 overs. Joining him is Dan Long.
Lovely to be with you, Suhas.
Likewise, Dan. Likewise. Yeah, absolutely. I think the buzzword in that camp should be partnership. 4 for 51. There's a word that's getting redundant very quickly in T20 format. It's called the tail enders. They don't have them anymore, do they? But do they? How deep do they bat? 4 for 51. They're still going for the big shots early in the innings. There's a lot of balls left. It's not often you say that even T20 has a lot of time left. I've been surprised with the shot selection, Dan.
I have a bit, yes. I mean, I think they're getting used to the conditions.
Yeah.
And they haven't got used to the wind. It's obviously not the same team that they put out last year. And as I said a bit earlier to Darren, the wind is favouring the outer side. You can see the trees are really blowing hard. And if you get onto it, you'll clear the fence on this side of the ground. It'll drop a bit shorter. And you'll get caught out in the deep.
And I'm very impressed by what Iyengaran's up to as well. He's tried to tackle the batter with the illusion of spin. He's not a big turner of the ball, but what we've seen so far has been absolutely brilliant with his accuracy.
It's a top ball so far from Iyengaran. He took a great catch as we saw before.
A more flight this time round. Something in that formula wasn't right. And you could just sense the mindset of the Sri Lankans as well. He just procked the bat at it. Didn't go through with a full flourish. Is he listening to you?
Well, I'm not sure.
Has he got 1 year on commentary, Dan?
I'm not a great player myself. I love the game. Still nice, but I'm not a great commentator.
There you go. To access the gaps, you need to venture out, and that's that's exactly what Iyengaran wants you to do as well.
Mahodi's really got to stay there now. He needs to sheet anchor it if they've got some aggressive batters.
Give us a number. At the end of 20, what are you expecting?
Oh, well, I would think teams are pretty good at being defensive. I mean, last year we saw a lot of low scores, so I would think if they can get 130, they're right in the game. It's runs on the board. There weren't too many games last year where teams got big scores. Pakistan did against India, but they couldn't win the tournament by then, and that was only because Baba got a big 100, and they went on to win that game, of course.
There are a couple of easy runs. Sometimes they don't come from the middle of the bat, but that's all right.
Inside edge on that occasion, yes. Now, you know who you remind me of?
Yes.
You remind me of the great Harsha Bogle. You've got a very similar voice. I mean, you are yourself as a broadcaster, but you've got a very similar voice as the great Harsha Bogle, and he, of course, is one of the best. So
I'll take that as a compliment. You're comparing me with legends here.
He's a legend and a great man too. I had a lot to do with him at the ABC for many years. One of the nicest men you'd ever want to meet.
Oh, wonderful indeed.
This has been a good performance by the Australians. As Darren said, they've constantly moved their bowlers around, especially rotating them from the Cranbourne end, and at 4 for 55 after 11. They've got some work to do to get to 130, which I think is par. And Durban will continue here.
Durban's lengths have been excellent. He's gone through with the shot. No half measures. The ball will fly. Yes, that calculated risk comes through, and especially when you do it on the first ball, the momentum shifts.
Well, that was a beautiful shot, and he's done it a couple of times. He's walked down the crease, a la Matthew Hayden, the great Australian left-hander, and on that occasion he got underneath it sufficiently and got plenty on it with the wind and put it over long on. This is a Yorker length ball, the next one soon now, so he digs this one out. Good comeback by Derwin, down to mid-off by Mahal.
I think he's looked at the scoreboard and the situation. That's exactly why he didn't go for the big shot this time around. His options were also limited as the ball was almost a Yorker. Durban's comeback, much awaited.
Again, a bit short, that one. Just not quite getting his length right in this over Derwin, and Mahodi, who's settled in nicely, taking his score to 33.
The batter Kura wasn't really happy with himself. He thought that deserved to be a boundary back behind square. He's just walked into this but plays straight to the fielder. Still a single's possible. Sometimes the 22 yards look like 10.
Well, they do, and I mean, he hit that firmly, probably too firmly, straight to the short straight mid-wicket fielder. and they took off, and they took off confidently, competently, and decisively, and made it comfortably, as you said, Sunas. I mean, they made it look easy, even though it was hit straight to the field. It was the old-fashioned tip and run.
Now, in his defense, he's already covered a few yards while he was intercepting the ball. But look at the non-striker and the trust in that run. And that just spills over to the second run over here as well.
Well, this has been some good running in that over, and also the big six. And they need as many runs as they can, and they need a big over, and they're getting one in this particular over. 10 from it so far, 1 to come.
Now, where does he go here? The bowler. He's kept it in the same region. It's called the corridor of uncertainty. He's offered the gentlest of shots. The ball will win the race. Sometimes the ball's not to be clobbered. Delicate touches can give you 4 if the outfield's your best friend.
The outfield is light and quick. Lovely boundary. Lovely shot by Mahodi. Again, that wristy play. The lowering of the hands. Realising that it was the same shot through the vacant slips cordon along the ground. If he could get it, fine, he did. Dean McDonald was there, and he, of course, is the Cranbourne boy, knows this ground pretty well. He was never going to get there, and a very important boundary. Mahodi's got 38, and at 4 for 69 after 12, they've started to rebuild the innings in the last couple of overs.
This is resurrection at its best. The Lankan boys are finding momentum. They're finding boundaries at will. Love the control on that shot. That sends a statement to the opposition. Aingaran now is inheriting a different kind of a scorecard with pressure on his team.
Just a little bit. He's cut out to the cover region. And if they can just keep rotating the strike and just keep putting the pressure on the Australians and ensure the scoreboard keeps ticking over the occasional boundary. Then maybe that 130 is more than possible.
When was the last time you saw a bowler flighted over the island in still coloured clothing?
That's a good question. Most of them, of course, are round arm,
Yeah.
aren't they? The offies and the leggies out the back of the hand. It's great to watch that, isn't it?
Absolutely, Dan. Well, he had committed to the shot but didn't get it from the middle of the bat. Will land in the Bermuda Triangle. Would you believe it? They were looking at each other, the fielders, and perhaps calling yours.
I think James Anapoulos was the one that was closest. I've got a feeling he hurt himself earlier and is just wavering a little bit. The captain, and it landed safely in the end.
It's one of those replays that you do not want to watch, especially if you're Aingaran. You could almost sense that there was another one. What do you make of the variation here, Dan?
Oh, outstanding. I mean, look, he's tossed the previous one up. He's darted the next one in nearly York. The batter in Mahodi is on 39.
He's treating the ball like a visitor to Melbourne, just guiding it where it wants to go.
So you've been guiding yourself where you want to go, have you? Using the GPS, getting around okay?
I landed yesterday and still buzzing a little,
Are you?
getting used to Melbourne time.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Dan. Absolute pleasure being alongside you. But you tell us, you tell me what to do on the off day. We'll go there. You be my itinerary.
Well, you haven't got too many off days because we've got the tournament right through. Well, you've really got to go, and if you get a chance to get out of Melbourne, you've got to go to places like the Grampians, which is up near Horsham, sort of in Western Victoria. You've got to go down to the 12 Apostles, which is near the beach, down in the southwest of Victoria. Some outstanding places to go to, really. It's a beautiful part of Australia, Victoria. Melbourne, the city itself is lovely, and there's so much to do around here. Albert Park and St Kilda with the beaches, particularly on a day like today. Mornington Peninsula, which is just down the road. The other side of the bay is the Ballerina Peninsula in Geelong. So much to do in this beautiful part of Australia. And we are a sports-loving country. Some say the sporting capital of the world, Melbourne, with the best stadium in the world. I know there's some wonderful cricket stadiums, Eden Gardens in particular, back in India, but I think the MCG is still number one. We're on Punjabi radio, of course, Sunas, so they may have a different view on that. We'd love to hear people's views on whether they think Eden Gardens is better than the MCG. But I think we could put a pretty good argument together for both.
No, absolutely. Now, of course, there's the Narendra Modi Stadium that's come up in Ahmedabad, which sort of
I've heard about that.
is the biggest, yeah.
Here's Lachlan now. Well, that's a good piece of fielding at backward point. Marinich, who's the son of the coach, Glenn Marinich. That was a great piece of fielding because that was a little bit wayward down the leg side and it was flicked away beautifully by Mahoti, who's on 40, but that piece of fielding was superb.
Absolutely. It's one of the most difficult places to field as well because the batter is almost obscuring at all times where the ball's going to be.
Correct. Well, he goes down the ground here and I think he's going to land safe. He does. Between long off and long on, that's what you call the perfect wedge shot in golf, which I've never been able to manage. Sunas, he manages to just find the gap there.
Would you believe it? I'd really want to buy the same insurance that he has to catching. Every time he's hit the ball in the air, it just sort of finds itself the right place to land.
He's 40, Ben Lachlan Suhas.
Yeah.
He's done an outstanding job by just slowing the pace down. That's why he's got the most number of wickets in BBL history, because of his ability to change his pace, vary his pace, and vary each delivery. He might have bowled one that was a little bit wide, the previous delivery. That one was Yorker length.
Oh, excellent delivery once again. Just sort of kept the batter guessing how slow it's going to be. I think he could have played the same shot twice and the ball wouldn't have arrived.
No, correct. An excellent bowler.
I'll tell you what, Dan, I think we're moving into an era where as a pacer your best friend's the slowest ball and the spinners are trying to bowl quick.
Correct. But the thing is, you've got to be careful not to try and bowl a slow ball every single delivery because the batter is starting to work that out now. There's a period there where they had absolutely no idea.
And there's so many kinds of slow balls as well that have come up. I want you to tell me which is the most innovative in your books. The second run was on.
Yeah, that was good running because what they did then was he took the pace off at Mahoti and the fielder was very deep at whitish long on, virtually on the rope, on the boundary there, on the far side of the ground where we're broadcasting from, this beautiful pavilion here at the Cranbourne Cricket Club, and he just took the pace off and it virtually landed just outside the circle, and that's all they could run through. 6 away from a 50. Thoroughly deserved this would be from Mahoti. Oh,
just as you say. That's a good catch indeed. Never lost sight of the ball. Had to backtrack a little bit, but the backtracking was done in real good time.
The captain, Nanopoulos, has taken that catch.
Yeah, setting an example for the boys. Again, the change in pace has done the trick. Vinu Mahoti was batting so very well. He's closed the face of the bat a little early for his liking. A tumble to finish the catch, but that's all right. A huge wicket. A huge wicket in the context of the game. The man who was holding the innings together is back in the hut now. Vinu Mahoti departs for 44. And he knew immediately that he was in trouble there, Dan.
He sure did. Just he batted so well. He's done a great job. I mean, you look at half centuries when we go through the stats for T20 cricket, the number of half centuries, the number of centuries. And they don't even really talk about 5-wicket hauls. They more talk about 3 or 4-wicket hauls in T20 cricket. I think they should be looking at, if you make 40 in T20 cricket, I reckon that's a pretty good effort.
Well, absolutely. I'm with you on this one. What about, do you also believe that the bowlers are not, have been done a little disservice here? We got a fifer making a headlines versus a century making a headlines.
Oh, I think fifer in T20 cricket. If you're taking 5 wickets from 4 overs, it should be exactly the same as a century, shouldn't it? I mean, when T20 cricket came in, Suhas, it was a batter's game.
True.
Good cricketing minds, good coaches, good strategists have come up with ways of squeezing the life out of games. With excellent fielding and the change of pace, as was spoken about a bit, to ensure that the batters can't dominate. And it's a much different game than it was when it first started more than 10 years ago.
Absolutely, and also the fact that there have been restrictions on how thick the bat can be, which has also brought the balance back in the side, back in our beautiful sport. Slight change in field here. The third man's become a little finer.
Sharma's back into the attack too.
Both of them thought of taking the second run. I think they stole the second run, but only in thought.
They could have taken on the field, but it might have been suicidal.
I think what prompted them to go back to their respective ends is the fact that it's 79 for 4. Not 110 at this stage. Leg side still open. Mid-wicket is a guaranteed boundary.
Good bowling. Right in the block hole. 5 wickets they've lost now, and they're 81 for 5, or 5 for 81. We're in the 15th over. First day of the tournament, so we're just getting all the technical equipment going. It'll be like a fine old machine this afternoon, like your good self, Suhas. And Parko, and then there's me, who's well, rusty as an old dunny door, as they say in the classics in this country.
I'll tell you what,
Looking like 10 men, as I did after my 10k run this morning. I'm nearly 54, and there were things in my body creaking that haven't creaked for a long, long time, probably ever. Full toss then, attempted slow one.
do you think it's a missed opportunity there? I think he served it to him on a platter. Anything over the fielder on the leg side, anything in front of the wicket, that would have been a guaranteed boundary. And it was also at a comfortable height for the swivel.
The sort of bowling to their field though, they're doing a good job. Plenty of spaces on the onside, stacked on the offside as this is played through backward point. And they managed to get another run. We'll update the score. And it's in the 15th over now.
Now, is there a
Protection out in the deep. There's deep mid-wicket. There's deep cover, of course. Third man. Fine leg. It's a beautiful shot. Great piece of fielding. Might be a run out here, but the return, to me, he probably could have flung that and maybe hit the stumps, and the wicket-keeper was betwixt and between. He was standing back thinking, are you going to throw it to me, or are you going to hit the stumps? And in the end, the batter was out of his ground, and he managed to make his ground.
Right, a lot to unpack.
In the man at the crease at the moment, which of course is Kure.
Change in field here finally becomes finer. Not that he'll be used at this stage. It's the first shot that he's even attempted to hit through mid-wicket, even though it's found the fielder. He'll be kicking himself. That's another boundary opportunity in my eyes. 15 overs gone, 83 for 5.
I think the big issue with Sri Lanka at the moment is Suhas takes the rest. I think I've called him Suhas a couple of times. I apologise for that. We'll get it right as we go along, but the man that sounds like Harsha Bogley, absolutely outstanding to have him here. Here's his own man, 5 for 83 with Kure on 11 and Mapper on 1. 15 overs gone. Darren Parkin rejoins us.
So you try to work, Dan, from here on different equations. So 8 and over gets him 123, a run of balls 113.
I did say to Suhas before, a lot of low scores last year were well defended. Too many over 120, Dash. Except when Pakistan got going. Now this might be caught, or has it got too much on it for the fielder who's on the deep mid-wicket boundary? It does. And that is a massive, massive hit over mid-wicket. As I said, if you hit with the wind, you're going to get 6 every time. I think the fielder thought he might have been a chance. He was backtracking over the rope and said, hello.
Well, from my vantage point, I thought he did it straight up in the air, and it just kept going. I thought that's going to get caught 10 metres inside the boundary.
He gets beaten by a good delivery on this occasion. Beats him outside the off stump.
Heard you guys talking earlier about best cricket grounds in the world, and controversial opinion, MCG is not even the best cricket ground in Australia.
Well,
Adelaide Oval. It's a brilliant ground, the MCG, but the Adelaide Oval is a magnificent venue.
There's a great 6 by Kure. He's ready again, and he gets the blade angled towards backward point. He works it away in that direction.
MCG is a venue magnificent in its hosting capacities and crowds and atmosphere and all of that, but if you haven't been to the Adelaide Oval, it should be on the bucket list, just to sit on the hill and enjoy a lovely day of cricket there. Magnificent.
I haven't been there since they've redone it. I caught a couple of games there about 7 or 8 years ago.
They've kept the charm of obviously having the hill and the scoreboard. You can see the church in the background.
Best thing that ever happened was getting football there as well.
Definitely.
Bowls again, beautiful delivery, and he beats Mapper on that occasion as he played underneath it through to wicketkeeper Newell, who's been pretty tidy.
Rotate.
There was a bit of hesitation the last over when it might have been a run out. Kure was scrambling to get back.
He's done very well keeping to the spin as well on the opportunities that have come up.
16th over, in again, and he slashes through the covers. There's protection out of deep cover. Playing at the bat on that occasion.
A few things you're always going to see at this stage of a T20. You'll have coverage certainly on the sweeper boundary and probably deep mid-wicket as well. And long on, long off. They'll always push those two back. Yeah, that's right. Not big enough.
Here's Lachlan again, the 40-year-old. Bowls. Swung away in the
6.
air, in between deep backward square, and also mid-wicket for 6. He got enough of it. It was hit low and flat, but it clears the fence again, helped by the wind as those trees are blowing profusely at the moment. They might even blow out of the ground there.
Yeah, my car's parked under a couple of those. So 15 runs off that over. We spoke about him needing, you know, a runner ball or 8 and over or 10 and over. 15 clearly changes that equation, takes him to 5 for 98. So they're almost got the 100 up with 4 overs to be bowled. And yeah, anything that goes up in the air, hit with pace, with that breeze, he's going to go a very, very long way.
Kure 18, Mapper on 3, so 5 for 98. Up to 16, and I think if they can get, as I say, to 130, they're right in the game. Paulus won the toss, elected to bowl. They like to know what's in front of them. This is a different Sri Lankan team.
And they are the reigning champs, as you say. The squad's very different, but I know what it's like to get it done here.
Squeeze the life out of Team Tough. It didn't work for the first game forward, so decided, oh, we're just going to have spinners. The medium paces were made obsolete in the team. If they could bat, great. If they were bowling medium pace, good luck. Now Sharma bowls an attempted York. It ends up being a full toss that was played into the pad by Mapper, and he drops it out along the onside.
You look at historical moments in cricket, and Sri Lanka credited in many respects with changing limited overs cricket forever in the mid-90s. Absolutely, with Sanath Jayasuriya and Kalawitharana, the little man who used to keep the gloves. That triumph in the 96 World Cup in Pakistan/India.
Which is almost above waist high full toss, which is whacked down the ground for 1. They'll come back for 2 on the return. That's good running, and well done by both players. Kure picking up 2, and the century is on the board in the 17th over for the Sri Lankans. And Kure, who's got a 45 in one of his 2 games for Footscray this year, is sitting inside the top 8 in the Premier Cricket Comp. Northcote are on top, the home of the great Phantom, William Morris Laurie.
Yeah.
He was one of the greatest players to play for Australia, certainly in the 60s.
Fantastic cricket club out that way.
Beaten outside the off stump by a good delivery with a bit more pace there.
My father tells a story. He was in the twos at Northcote at one point, that he rocked up to training one day and Rodney Hogg was just rolling his arm over just for the hell of it, and he thought that was interesting to face him in the nets.
Well, there was a guy that was quicker than him called Gary Living. He played a couple of matches for Victoria in 72, 73, and then he played footy for Old Melbourne High School and badly hurt his shoulder, I think, and never played again. They reckon he was really quick.
There's a lot in that era. Of course, the Northcote Football Club won a flag under Jason Heatley, of all people, a few years back.
This is across the line. You always manage to win St Kilda into a dash, don't you? Goes behind.
Can't help it.
Point, and they come back for 2.
It's the best period of momentum Sri Lanka have had in the match is in the last probably 15 or 20 deliveries.
5 for 103 and Kure, a bit more than the cameo now with his 28. Mapper is 4.
He's hit 2 sixes, Kure, in that 28.
The innings, Mahoney 44. Here's Sharma again, working away from the southern end, beats Kure outside the off stump, is looking to drive through the offside. There's still point, and there's deep cover, there's mid-off, there's a squarish third man, there's a deep backward square in front of the scoreboard, there's a forward square on the boundary, there's a mid-wicket, and a squarish mid-on. This is whacked
6.
over the top, and
Oh, not
we're
quite.
going to get a boundary. If If it was the other side of the ground, it would have been 6. Just bounces in front. One bounce and over the rope for 4 as he swung over the infield. Lovely lofted shot with great authority through mid-wicket, just allowing the batter on that occasion, Sharma, to get underneath it and hit a terrific shot. And Kure moves to 32. And Sri Lanka, after 17 overs, in a good position now, 5 for 107.
We spoke about that last 5, so we've gone 15 and then 9 in the first 2 overs of the last 5-over stint. So 24 off the last 2. Kure with 2 sixes and a boundary. That one was probably half a metre short of being another maximum, right down to the players' dugout, our commentary position, hitting against the wind there. And as you say, that doesn't just clear the rope, it probably clears the fence if he hits that the other way. It's very nice little cameo, 32 at more than a run a ball. The effort of Makoti earlier set the innings up, and now Kure might be able to bring them home here.
So Nana Poulos back in the attack. A lot of second 11 cricket. So many Premier cricketers that have been unlucky in this state not to play for Australia. I worked with a guy called Peter Dixon, who played a lot of cricket in Melbourne, a lot of cricket in Fitzroy Doncaster, a couple of flags there late in his career with Glenn Maxwell, and was in that team. And 160 out on the boot for the second 11. This is swung across the line, and he gets the bottom edge of the bat. Because 5 legs a bit square, it goes very fine indeed. And Fine Leg was chasing that to the boundary and was never a chance of overhauling it.
Yeah, if you're going to,
no matter how you get it, as long as you get it.
if you're going to sacrifice someone on the boundary there, that's where you're going to do it. And it got through, and a boundary.
It's got a bottom edge of the bat.
Definitely.
And Malcolm's facing, he gets the boundary. That's 5 for 111. We're at the start of the 18th over. Here's Nana Poulos again, barrel chest and bowls, tempted slow one, driven away, through mid-wicket. Good piece of fielding, he did knock it away, Lachlan out there, but ensured there was no more than one. It was absolutely travelling, scorching across the turf. The average looks pretty quick. And as he swung across the line, that was on strike. And he now moves to 9.
5 for 112. The captain trying to put the brakes on here as Sri Lanka.
Bowling now to the informed Kure on 32. He can swing with the wind here. He attempts to swing a slow one and is completely bamboozled. It goes through on the bounce of the wicketkeeper Newell. Dot ball for the Australians.
Incredible weapon is the slower ball when it's executed perfectly in limited overs cricket. Obviously the batsman at this stage looking for pace on. And
Lance and I were talking about it.
Yeah.
The slow ball is probably not the weapon that it was, because there are so many bowlers that try and bowl too much.
if you get it right though, yeah.
National career was ruined because I think he tried to bowl a slow ball every delivery. A few other things too with him. Kure hits it high, hits it long, and hits the journey over long on. I wonder whether he got underneath it a bit, but again the wind is powerful enough on that onside straight, and it just kept it going and going and going as the fielder is a bit squarer in protection there at long on, and he wasn't going to get there. He watched the ball sail over the rope. And gee, they're starting to get on top now, the Sri Lankans, and what an innings. This has been by Kure.
Looked from my vantage point like it had gone for 6, but 4 runs. I've only given it a 4. It looked certainly looked that way.
5 for 116. He's 36. It must have bounced just in front of the rope. Again, he didn't get all of it. And a Poulos in again bowls. Yorker length ball dug out into the covers, and they pick up 1.
So 10 off it with another one to come. So another very good over.
So was it 34 almost?
Yeah, so 34 off almost 3 with obviously 1 to come here. So they might end up scoring it. I mean, their run rate will be nearly 12 and over in the last 5.
Last ball, the 18th over. Nana Poulos. In again. Bowls. The slow one.
That's a lovely shot.
Yeah, but it gets past cover, and there's no protection there. Goes to the boundary for 4. Between cover and mid off. He read that like a book.
It's almost the best of the shots. It's a beauty.
Slash through the cover region in the air, but he hit it a bit squarer of the fielder inside the circle in the cover region, and it finds a boundary.
And they've got away here, Sri Lanka, 15, 9 and 14 in the last 3. So 38 runs off 3 overs. They pushed the score into the 120s, and all of a sudden, a 140, 145 very much a realistic prospect for Sri Lanka.
5 for 121, Napa 13. And it brings Cooties providing a bit of a cameo too. We've seen 44, of course, from Mahodi.
Just takes two blokes to get runs. They got one at the start, another one here in the middle order. So 12 deliveries left. Can they take it for, say, 2 a ball from here and put themselves in a really strong position?
Athilat Mudali is out for 6. Udawade, the captain, 11. Solomon's got 21. Pereira got 1. Lachlan bowls. And this is down the leg side.
So one of the better death bowlers in Australian limited overs cricket history, but he starts with a wide there.
That's why he got his gig, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Australian team, because he was a good bowler to death. He probably showed with the greatest respect that it might have been one level too much for him. He's in again, he bowls, the attempted slow one, he gets an outside edge, and he is holed out at third man. It was a slow one, and he was through his shot before he planned to be through his shot. And Kure's lovely innings of 37 comes to an end, and he gets beaten by the slow one, a little bit like Mahodi did earlier on. The 6th wicket falls. Australia badly needed that wicket dash to break this partnership, and the heavy run scoring from the Sri Lankans in recent overs, 6 for 122. Early stages of the 19th over. Kure out for a fine 37. Lachlan breaks through yet again.
Yeah, he looked like being the one who would have cleared defence once or twice in these last couple of overs and pushed it beyond them. And again, back to that slower ball conversation, when you get those players that can execute it properly, like Lachlan, who's done that so often at state level, at international level, this level as well, with what you were saying earlier about so many players get it wrong, he's not one of them. And that was a very important dismissal that should bring Ralaj to the crease.
So we're into the 19th over.
Looks like
6 for 122.
there's Kulaseka come out, I think he has. Yep.
One of the great 199 one-day international test wickets, played 21 tests, and for a while he was ranked the #1 one-day bowler in the world.
He's climbed from number 8 or from number 9 to 8 in the order.
Played at Morty Allen, but he came out to live in Australia a couple of years ago in the Southern Bayside Turf Comp, now with West Dandenong in the Dandenong District Association. First ball, exactly the same way that Kure went out, as he went from an outside edge to a slow one. Didn't really move his feet, hung the bat out to dry, and puts it straight down third man's throat.
Didn't know they were able to turn the windows in front of us into an instant replay screen. That was an identical dismissal. Same delivery, same shot, same fielder, same result. And he's on a hat-trick, Lachlan, in the penultimate over of the innings.
As usual, getting wickets. This is when we're going to get some for fun, as we've said.
That's 3 I think he's got now.
Yes, he has.
3 for 24 with 4 deliveries left, and he's come in and put the brakes on. And not only that, but he sent a couple back to the shed, and the pressure sits on this Sri Lankan lineup to try to grind out. We spoke about 145 being the target. It probably comes down now to 135 that they want to be able to work through.
Cricket's a simple game, isn't it?
Yeah.
We talk about the slow balls and change of pace, etc. But as soon as you take a wicket or two, the game changes, doesn't it?
Arosh Shinoda coming to the crease. Hat-trick ball.
Shinoda to face Lachlan. Can he get a hat-trick the first day? This is a delivery that is not going to be a hat-trick ball because it's outside the off stump. He didn't move his feet, but he hung the bat out, but he kept it along the ground with the square drive to point as it was the attempted Yorker length ball.
So wide off the first ball, then wicket dot. So 3 deliveries left in this over. Lachlan, as usual, wasting no time.
Dean McDonald's for 2 catches at third man. Now there's going to be runs here as it wanders down towards the boundary, splitting the 2 fielders behind the wicket. It's backwards square.
He pretty much just fended that off the body.
Because there was no real protection right behind the wicketkeeper, it's 4 boundaries. 4 runs, I should say.
Yep. At this stage of an innings, you're just not going to protect that part of the ground. Obviously, you're backing your bowler in not to go too straight, and just a bit of bad luck if you get a boundary there.
Boundary to Janota, who allows the ball to hit the bat. Again, he just plays it low with soft hands, drops into the offside. The field's pretty deep, as you would expect it to be. 4 more runs on the board. He has 5, 7 for 127. At the end of the 19th over. Still think they can get 140.
Yep.
Big over the last one. This over, then Lachlan has managed to slow it down with 2 wickets. 1 ball remaining in the 19th. Lachlan in again, the veteran bowls. There's another slow one that he allows to pass through then. Mappery saw how slow that was. I thought I might just let this one go.
2 wickets, a boundary, a wide and a single, so 6 runs off that over. 1 to come. Lachlan's bowled through, 3 for 29 from 4 overs. Excellent figures for he. Hobart Hurricane, Brisbane Heat, Adelaide Strikers. A journeyman through the T20 and been effective everywhere. And a very tidy start to the Australian Cricket League for him.
29 or 4? One-day cricket, it's 40 off 10.
In one day, yeah. In T20 cricket, you'd think, 7 and over, maybe? Anything, if you got a better net run rate than 7.
Nana Poulos will bowl the final over. 7 for 127.
You work it back from a team score. What's par score on average for a team? 150? 145? So you'd be looking at, or on any track.
He bowled him. He played all over the top of that one. It was a well-up ball, and he was looking to play across the line, Janota. And he has been completely skittled. James Nanapoulos, a lovely piece of bowling. One of the best bowlers in club cricket in this state. Should have played a lot for Victoria, but have had some pretty good players in this state over the last 10 years or so, dominating the competition. And it's now 8 for 127, early stages of the 20th over.
Although they are transitioning a bit at the moment, Victoria. Will Sutherland's had a very good start to the season, but they've struggled in the top order for runs. They look like they've got some pretty...
Like Peter Dixon,
yeah.
Andrew Kent, Dean Russ, Matty Chasemore, well, they're all guys in
Yeah.
the early 40s or late 30s who, well, their time
Born
has
in a
come
different
and
era,
gone,
yeah.
but been very handy players. They're not really... James Seymour's played a few games. He got a couple of hundreds last year. And
Got young
made-
Fraser
yeah,
McGurk,
he made
who's
300s in a
yeah.
row for Essendon in
Fraser
the
McGurk,
40s.
who's playing with the Melbourne Renegades as well. Got Harper with the gloves, who can score some runs for them.
Because they went down the path of looking at developmental players.
Obviously, one player that would be crucial to them who's unavailable is Will Pukovsky.
And not players, like they did for a long, long time, who were making runs and taking wickets in district cricket and Premier cricket. I mean, district cricket and Premier cricket was at its best in the 70s and 80s. It was just hard cricket. The wickets weren't good. Most teams had at least 2 outstanding fast bowlers. Talking of good fast bowlers, Nanapoulos, slower delivery, having a swing and just getting a very little inside edge onto that and dropping it down along the wicket.
Well,
To get a run.
Well, the swinging momentum here, it was Australia that had the better of the innings. Sri Lanka then had a 3 or 4 over stint where the runs flowed, and Australia have picked up 3 wickets in 8 deliveries to turn the screws back the other way.
Calhan Sineth is the new bowler, new batter, I should say. And this is lofted out into the deep towards cow corner. They'll come back for 2. There's a fumble, allowing the second to occur there for Mapper, who's the man that's got to try and get this to 140. I reckon they've got a par at 130 at the moment. It's 8 for 130. Mapper has 15.
Yeah, it's defendable. We speak about the wind, and that's certainly helping some shots, but it's also creating some difficulty for players out there.
Here's Nanapoulos again. Took a length ball, driven fluently into the covers by Mapper. Another one who's put together a nice little cameo. Sullivan's got 21, and we saw a good innings by Mahodi at the top, 44. And then, of course, Kurate with 37, including a few sixes with the wind.
So 8 for 131 with a couple to go.
Yeah, 2 balls remaining. Nanapoulos, the captain. to the left-hander. And the attempted ramp shot, and he bowled a slower delivery, which ended up being a full toss. He made a complete meal of it, coming across his stumps as he was trying to play the ramp shot. It's premeditated, and he did not score.
Was that the
opportunity goes Becky.
is that the Clint Eastwood delivery? You got to know your limitations on a ball like that. Not sure a ramp was the best play there.
Here's Nanopoulos again. He drives a Yorker length ball back to the bowler who fields in his follow through, and that is outstanding bowling by the skipper, James Nanopoulos. As Australia reined that in, they were looking like they might get it under 120, and then Sri Lanka had 3 overs with an average nearly 12 and over, where Kuro was going and getting very good support from Mappa. And then, what you need is wickets. Ben Lachlan got 2 wickets in 1 over, like the Beatles. All you need is wickets, and they got the wickets. And 8 for 131 is the score of the Sri Lankans. Australia will need 132 to win the first match of this ACL doubleheader. The big one is coming up next, Pakistan and India, after the Australian innings, going through a call of the card with the Sri Lankans sent into bat by the Australian team, and Athol Lathmudavi was out for 6, Udawade for 11, the captain, Solomons for 21, Pereira for 1, Mahodi for 44, Kure for 37, and then Kulasekara was out first ball, both the same way as they got top edges, guiding it straight down the throat of McDonald at third man. And then they also lost another wicket after that, and the man that was dismissed as well was, of course, the very important
Janota,
the 8th man to go. So all out for, well, 8 for 131, and for the Australians, Ben Lachlan took 3 wickets. James Nanopoulos did a pretty good job, only got 1 wicket but bowled well, and also good performance, of course, from Sharma, especially early in his spell, and Durman got a couple of wickets as well, and the spinner was
Angaran, yeah, was outstanding, and yeah, he was brilliant, and yeah, he spoke about the wickets, talking to Bryce McGain a lot in recent times about it's the best type of dot ball that bowlers are often focused on. How do I stop him scoring? How do I stop him scoring? Well, you get him out, he won't score then.
Well, looking at the bowling, Angaran, 4 overs, 1 for 13. Lachlan, 4 overs, 3 for 29. Nanopoulos, 1 for 26. And did a great job, James Nanopoulos, as he so often does. And Sharma was a bit expensive, but bowled well early.
Yeah.
And obviously for Sri Lanka, it was a good performance from their 2 top order batters. Kure hit some 6s, 37, and Mahodi 44, and also Solomon's got 21. So 8 for 131. Australia need 132. Have they got enough?
I'd say they'd be slight favourites from here. I think Sri Lanka got themselves to a position where they're very competitive. Runs on the board always important, but I think Australia would fancy their chances. I think Sri Lanka might have left not many out there, but maybe 8 to 10 runs out there, around about 140 might have been a par score from here. So I think Australia with the advantage at this point.
Well, we'll take a break. We'll be back with the run chase very, very shortly. Sue Haas will join Darren Parkin to kick it off and see if Australia can make 132 to win, or Sri Lanka were very good at defending last year. After they lost the first game, went on to win the tournament with all their spinners just choking the life out of the opponents. We'll see what they can do, and it should be an excellent run chase very shortly here at Cranbourne, the first match of the ACL for 2022. Back with more shortly.
Novan Kulasekara operating with a slip.
Kulasekara in there, and that's hoiked over the circle on the bounce. There's coverage out at deep square, and they'll get a single.
Marinich is still getting used to that extra bit of bounce that he didn't anticipate that on this occasion.
Kulasekara with so much experience. Shelby Singh and Max Marinich opening the batting, both with a single inside the first handful of deliveries. 132 required. Australia no wicket for 2. Kulasekara in again, good pace as that one's worked fine. It'll flirt with the boundary down there. It's just hauled back, not quite. It clears the rope for 4. So an early boundary for Australia, and using the pace of Kulasekara to great effect and beating the fielders in the deep.
Kulasekara is not a happy man. The hard yards had been put in. He reached the ball. That's the harder bit. He reached the ball, but still it sneaks through.
He's just left the drawbridge open there, and it's gone straight underneath. Over-committing to that. Kulasekara giving up a boundary and take that protection in the fields. Comes in again, and Singh just drops that in the offside, no run.
It's been a while since he's hung his boot there, Kulasekara, but still in international cricket there are very few who have such lovely wrist in terms of the seam presentation as the ball comes out of the hand.
It's a beautiful action. Good pace, zips it through. Australia, no wicket for 6, with 1 ball to come in the opening over. Still need a further 126 for victory, as that one's pushed into a short cover area just in front of point on the offside, and no run. So a boundary and then over 6 runs in all. Australia off to a tidy start, particularly to negotiate 1 over from one of the most dangerous weapons in the Sri Lankan side, Kulasekara. Singh on 5, Marinich on 1. So we're going to have some slower bowling into the attack immediately for Sri Lanka, which, as Dan Lonigan said, it was the order of their run to the title last time.
Yeah.
Jayasundara will bowl from our broadcast ends. Probably not surprising to see Sri Lanka utilise the slower bowlers.
Not at all. They come to the land of spin, don't they?
They do. Their international side made up of multiple spinning options at
Yes.
T20 level especially.
And a lot of mystery spinners as well.
The bowlers of the Dusra, of course. History in that space. Rangana Herath recently, and obviously really, as we know, something like 1,250 international wickets between those two.
I think he's one of the very few bowlers from Sri Lanka who has a very repeatable action.
Absolutely.
Very innocuous action, but once the ball pitches, boy, are you in trouble.
He's such an effective player. Played international cricket for 20 years. Sundra will continue bowling around the wicket there, and it's pushed firmly, beats the infield there down to long off for a single.
I love the approach here from the Sri Lankan captain. Spinner pace, he's awarded the bowler a slip. Your thoughts on that, Darren?
Yeah, I think obviously at this stage they've got to be pretty attacking, given the relatively, it's a difficult one. You're defending a modest total, so you're stuck with
True.
being conservative, but you need to take wickets. It's that simple. You're not probably going to be able to just bowl out the 20 and defend. You've got to get wickets in the top order.
Somewhere around the 13 over mark, if I'm correct. I'd asked Dan what he feels would be a good total on this track, and he says 130. He did get the width on this occasion.
And away in front of point for 4. So it's a lovely boundary. Singh finds himself with another. Got the first boundary in the previous over, and again here.
You just cannot give him that much width. It's asking for trouble. Doesn't have any cushion in the offside fence. Easy pickings for the batter. I think Shobit could only dream of a better delivery to get started.
Made a very good start to his innings Singh, victory, a boundary off the quick and a boundary off the spin. No wicket for 11 in the second over as they're just doing some adjustments in the field. Good start for the Australians. India and Pakistan, the second match today, which will be an absolute cracker as we know, as that's pushed to cover. And good work there by Marinch, the non-strikers, then to immediately scamper through. Just pick up those quick singles. Very important when they chase this gettable but defendable total. And this time it is Marinch driving but can't beat cover, no run.
That's the experience of Hemantha. He's come back really well. One poor delivery, but everything else right on the money. Can he close it out well here? 6 of it so far, Darren.
6 of it, but as you say, that one bad shot belted through the offside. Tidy start for Australia, none for 12 with one to come. Second over. Sri Lanka with 2 for 39 at the end of the 6 over power play in their innings, and that one is mishit, trying to hoik that one over mid-wicket, just dragged it down into the grounds, and they get through for a single, and no wicket for 13 to score at the end of 2. Curious just looking at the balance of this attack, so asking how they work through it in terms of
255 this year, Singh.
Singh averaging mid-40s for Richmond, so he's in good form. 350s in succession and 2 lovely boundaries to start his innings today, but looks like Sri Lanka are going to continue to operate with pace from the Cranbourne end of the stadium. See that blend, as Dan mentioned in their last couple of games last year, they only bowled 1 over that wasn't spin. Just getting a feel for the conditions of a different squad.
Is that a regular template for them as well? Most spin bowlers?
Yeah, definitely. I think the team that seems, globally anyway, that seems to have the greatest balance of spin is Bangladesh.
Oh yeah, true.
The majority of their attack seems to be that.
Ask an Indian at the moment.
Been a good test series, a good test match that India have been in control the whole way through. Bangladesh have a cheeky run chase, put it that way, as that one is turned through the onside, playing over the top of it on the full shot. No run, Bangladesh chasing 512, which realistically they'll never get, but 8 for 325 at the moment. They've certainly made a reasonable fist of it. They were none for 124.
I think the baseball approach is just getting around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Head's adopting that for Australia. That's been, again, played and missed outside off stump. So twice in a row, Kulaseka have been able to get past the bat. But yeah, that England-Pakistan series, where Pakistan have sort of come along for the ride adopting baseball, it's been brilliant. What a series.
It's great advertisement for the purest form of the sport, isn't it?
And for Australians, obviously not far away from going to England for another Ashes series. There's plenty of spice into that. Given England were on their knees when they were out here last summer.
You won't miss an opportunity to say that, would you? Gently nudged.
And that's pushed down to mid-off for no run. Yeah, and of course it's big for Australia. Australia retained the Ashes in England but didn't win the series. So they still haven't won a series in England since 2001. So very important for them to, that little final frontier for them to actually have a victory on opposition soil.
Right, so far so good for Nuwan Kulaseka. Just a single of the first half of the over.
Got past the outside edge twice. And that one is a wider delivery. And it's into the offside, very nicely done.
Now he's also getting into the change of pace mode. That is the slowest of the 4 balls he's bowled.
Smoked the offside. No damage done. Singh on 10. Orange on 4. Singh's looking sharp. And again tries to play that through the offside. And he gets it through the gap. And when they get through that infield, they just pick up speed and race away to the boundary. As soon as they get past the circle, it's 4 runs all day today. No wicket for 18. 3 boundaries in the first 3 overs for Singh.
Yeah, beautifully guided. Didn't even try to hit it hard, and that's the secret sauce behind that one. Just trusting the outfield to deliver the courier.
Absolutely, that's off to the races. And beautifully placed, 14 off 9. Very good start for the opener here. Enters in good form, Singh. Kulaseka, the last ball of his second over. And he goes through and bowls him a full Yorker length delivery, and he gets the comeback that he was looking for. He's bowled pretty well. He's been hit to the boundary twice without much fortune really going his way. But the main strike weapon in that Sri Lankan attack gets the wicket inside the first 3 overs. It comes at a very similar stage to when Sri Lanka lost their first wicket, and in a very similar fashion. And they get the danger man for 14.
Yeah, the buzzword around the camp for Sri Lanka might be spinners. But here is a pacer who's worth his weight in gold. Just the class of the man. This one tailing back in like a guided missile. Little did he know, Shobi, that he had to bring the bat down on time. He's played down the wrong line as well. That late movement is very difficult to tackle.
For those listening around Australia, the ball was on the Frankston line. He played on the Sandringham line. Looks like Reardon out there in the crease for Australia in number 3. And he's a very good ball striker.
I'll tell you what, more stints with you, I'm not boarding the wrong train.
If you're out here, you're on the...
When was the last time a co-commentator learned topography on air?
You're on the Cranbourne line out here. Frankston line's not far away.
And what's the corridor of uncertainty called?
Well, the, what's the Damien Fleming one? The two-way departure, the avenue of apprehension. So Reardon comes in. He won't face first up. It's the last ball of the over, so looks like it's going to be spin again, but it's going to be Sineth. He's going to bowl here. So changing it up, we had Jaya Sunderla bowl the second over, and it's going to be Sineth bowling the 4th over, so rotating through the slower bowlers from the broadcast end. Just 1 over each. Interesting to see. Do you reckon they'll give Kulaseka a third at the other end? We'll discuss that in a minute as it's driven into the offside, no run. Get a 3rd over? Interesting dilemma for the captain, knowing that you'd only have 1 up your sleeve. Enough. With the headband coming down the track, bump ball driven back to the bowler.
Yeah, Cullen Sineth, we were talking to his teammates and he said he's a huge fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'll leave you to decide which one though, out of the 4
I'm
or 3.
On the headband, maybe a Raphael.
Raphael, yeah.
Who's my favourite as well, so I can vibe that as that's driven down to long on. Fantastic.
And I'm not making this up. Is it a coincidence that he's a big Nadal fan as well? Is this that first name case?
Loves everyone.
You could see it in my notes.
Rafa. We should just change his name, Calhoun, to Rafa.
Yeah, Nadal.
It's not bad to like. If you're a fan of Raphael and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and you love Nadal, you're going alright, I think. So a lot of consultation between captain and bowler all throughout the first handful of overs here.
You know what happened when the over starts with ... 1?
Well, something's going to happen with Reardon at the crease. He's an aggressive player. Come after the spin, you'd think.
It's good to have a left-hander in the mix as well.
Definitely creates challenges for the bowlers as well as he plays that with soft hands, running that down to 3rd, and they get an easy single. So he cruises off the mark there. 2 off the over so far.
Now in hindsight, you go back to the toss and what would you tell yourself, you're Australian captain, it's the right decision so far to know how much to get on a track of this kind?
I think so. I just saw a gentleman walk past in the New Zealand black cap shirt as a wicket falls here as Marinic drags one back onto the stumps. The stumps have been hit for the second time, and 2 for 20.
Colin Sinnett's produced the magical delivery. The captain gave him the ball with a lot of trust. Pick me another, and boy does he deliver.
And just stepped out of the crease there. The bail's whipped off. Marinic falls and just went to make the observation. The gentleman in the New Zealand shirt walking past New Zealand with the masters of always winning the toss and bowling in limited overs cricket. To give yourselves an indication of what it is that you need all the time. Know what the pitch is worth.
Yeah.
Of course, New Zealand, one of the only sides not playing here today. So this is Barrack for the World 11 perhaps. It won't be Barrack for Australia, I can absolutely guarantee that.
I could almost sense that, Darren, next time he walks past you, you're going to tell him to call 10 of his mates.
Yes. Squeezing the game against someone.
And I think the prediction comes true as well. ... 1 and suddenly a wicket in the same over.
You see a replay here coming down the track, overstepping, it was wide of off stump. Marinic knew that he was gone. Lovely work by the keeper, very sharp hands. Wicket falls. Looks like it'll be Wilson, the new batter at the crease for.
He absolutely enjoyed it.
Matt Wilson comes in. Matt Wilson. One ball left in the fourth over, 2 for 20.
The southpaw galore in the middle now.
Start here by Sineth. So wicket from both ends in consecutive overs, and Sri Lanka put themselves right in the contest at 2 for 20. As that one is just turned slightly down the leg, so it might be a run out there. It's a half an appeal. Very sharp single attempted. It's 2 for 21 as they get through there for a run. It's just not what they needed at that stage to be flirting with that. You've lost 2 wickets in 7 deliveries. And you go for a real sharp single. They get away with it.
I think Australia, they've got to utilize the fact that they know exactly how much to chase on this track. Now the spinners as a threat can be neutralized if you're getting just about par score required in that over. Just keep an eye on the asking rate. And having said that, I think they can reassess the conditions at this stage and tell themselves this is not a daunting total, this is not a daunting equation. Small targets can get the job done. How important is it to set small targets?
Absolutely, yeah, just little intervals, just thinking, the 6 over mark at the end of power play, they were 2 for 39, we've got to be somewhere around that mark. Keep it within 7 to 8 runs and over required, just don't allow it to go beyond that at this stage. Swing again operating now from both ends. Through bowled from this end, the second over into the attack as that's pushed down to mid-off and just the 1 run. So Sundara bowling his second over, 1 from each end.
Yeah, plethora of experience, Jayasundara. He's played a lot of cricket at the club level in Sri Lanka.
So this is predicted a lot by Dan Lonergan based on what happened at the last tournament, that it is spin to win for Sri Lanka at present as that one is pushed aggressively down to long on. They run 1, they come halfway down for the second, a mix up in the call between the two, but no damage done. Reed and Wilson remain at the crease.
Not just Australia, but any team playing against Sri Lanka, do they mentally sign up for trial by spin?
Yeah, probably don't bring the helmet, just get the hat out and get used to.
I'll tell you what, KS Ahmed will not be pleased with you. He bowled a bouncer to Andre Russell.
True, he did. He was bowling with some nice venom early, but we see Jayasundara continuing there, and that is lofted down the ground, and as is the case, they tend to carry, but that's been dropped in the deep. It just pulled up a couple of metres inside the rope, and a let off there when Sri Lanka had Australia under the cosh in the latter stages of this 5th over, a chance to have 3 wickets inside the power play, and you could tell from the reaction of the batter that if he hadn't got enough of that.
That would have had his heart in his mouth. He knew immediately that he was in trouble. He's also hitting against the wind. This is a great comeback delivery. Hemanta almost sensed a wicket crawling towards him.
Absolutely, just a slow motion, and Wilson there, middle of that off. Picked up a couple of runs from it. Last ball of the 5th over, Sri Lanka ramping up the pressure here. I've got 2, they probably should have had 3. Jayasundara to close out his second over, playing back in the crease there. Wilson tucks it to mid-wicket, gets a single, keeps the strike. 5 overs down, 2 for 26. Suhas to continue to join him will be Dan Lonergan in the commentary position for the next 5 overs, with Australia needing a further 106 to win the opening game.
Some work to do, the Australians. Suhas, I don't know. I mean, they've not started all that well, and again, they've got the clamps on the Sri Lankans.
Absolutely. Dan, first of all, just as you come in, I need to ask you, where exactly are you hiding the crystal ball? You said 130 odd is a pass score, and that's exactly what they got?
Well, I've taken it out of a certain part of my anatomy. I just guessed. That's the way I operate. I really couldn't tell you why I went for 130. Probably because last year there were so many low scores. I reckon if you got 130, you're right in the game. I remember Australia bowled really well in the second game they played against India, 14 comp last year, Suhas, and they did well to restrict them to 108, and India managed to defend that.
Wow.
It was an older Australian side, with the greatest respect to some of the players that played in that, and it was cobbled together at the last minute.
I think it's very evident what's the right length on a track of this kind if you're a spinner. Just on top of the stumps, because it's doing that little bit as well, that additional bit of bounce when the batter is already committed on the front foot. Such a treat to watch. Now, having said that, Dan, are they missing a trick here, Sri Lanka, by not putting one in the catching position on the offside? The appeal was with a lot of expectations, but the finger that...
Being super aggressive, maybe having someone under the helmet, maybe it's silly it off, or even
no,
short
no, no.
leg, or just
short cover?
Maybe it's short cover, yeah. I think you're probably right there. You don't see it, of course, unless you're being super aggressive and you're right on top. Oh, gee, struggling at the moment, isn't he? That was right through it.
That's the most unconvincing boundary, but you look at the scorecard, it just says 4.
Well, Mappa couldn't take it cleanly. It kept low, and they all count. This is the thing about T20 cricket. It doesn't matter how you get them, as long as you get them.
Yeah.
And generally the unorthodox is how you prevail in this game. Suhas?
Who was more surprised with that boundary, the bowler or the batter? Solidly behind this one. One more delivery to go in the over. That's what Sahan Veerasekara was suggesting. Oh, that's gone through. And I think the fielders decided there's no point chasing. This outfield is lightning quick.
We've got a stacked offside field, and that is called finding the gap to perfection.
Wow.
With 2 or 3 fielders about 6 to 7 metres away from each other there, Suhas. Looking at the replay there, it was a little bit wide of the off stump, and he managed to pin the ears back. He was able to get back in his crease, as you said, a bit earlier, and he read it to a nice and beautiful cricket shot.
Something to cheer for Australia. This one was played with a lot of control at the end of the power play, the first one that is, 36 for 2 Australia. Now it's time for them to reconsider, Dan, probably play out a phase between 6 to 11 in their mind and have a shorter target. Because the way I see it is that this target can be humbled with a couple of partnerships. That's all they require. It's not a daunting target.
Oh, exactly right. There's less than 100 required. Yeah. It's easier said than done. We saw the Sri Lankans get back on track. Kudray got some runs, and support, of course, by Mahoney at the top of the order, and then Mappa helped him down the order. Kudray started to hit the wind, and that got them back on track. And then, of course, as we often say, it's a simple game, cricket. A wicket will always turn the screws back the other way. You can bowl as many slow balls as you like, or as many Yorker length deliveries as you like to stop the scoring, but if you get a wicket, straight away.
Right, so,
Scoring is stopped completely.
so Dan, your reading is 96 of 84, the equation, but Sri Lankans are treating this game as 10 good balls.
Well, that's right. It's easier said than done, of course.
And Cullen Sinneth, he's picked up a wicket, is looking confident, but who else is confident? The batter.
Well, I think you'll find that Mahodi, who topped the run scoring for the Sri Lankans in the rate for 131 with his 44, is going to come into the attack.
Extra bit of bounce. The keeper was in trouble. He's not having his best day behind the wicket. Nor was his favourite in front of it with a bat in hand. A good delivery.
Struggling to get in yet, Nathan Reardon. He yells on that occasion.
Now, with so much emphasis on the righty-lefty combination and the management trying their level best to maintain that, the two left-handers and the spinners have been unleashed, especially the ones that would turn away from the lefties.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Is that overreading into the game, or do you think what's happening is absolutely fine because both these batters are looking comfortable as the game progresses?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, it's all about bowling the ball in the right spot. It's a simple game cricket, as we know,
Yeah.
and just bowling to your field. On that occasion, he didn't really bowl to his field. He allowed the ball to be dragged down towards the onside.
Oh, that made lovely
Beautiful
contact.
shot by Wilson.
A lot of ground to cover and did really well, the fielder eventually. A couple of runs added, but will make him feel a lot better. It's one of those shots that might have not gone to the boundary, but it'll make him feel a lot better because the bat percentage on it increased drastically compared to all the other shots before it. Well in control here, Matt Willis.
Starting to pick the gap too. I mean, the field's very deep, as we can see. I mean, if you have a look at it, there's a short, squarish third man, then there's a backward point about 8 metres away from him. There's a deep cover, short straight cover, long off on the boundary, long on, and there's a mid-wicket and a sort of short backward square leg and a deep mid-wicket.
Yeah, and would be interesting to see if they keep that same field when Vinu continues to bowl. There's no doubt about it. He's kept it very tidy this over. Just 4 runs of it, 40 for 2 at the end of 7. Australia 11.
Now, you arrived in a country, we're the only country to do it the other way with the score. Does that surprise you? I mean, every other country 40 for 2, 50 for 2, 18 for 6. We're 6 for 18 here. I don't know why we've done it. We've always done it here, but it's a very strange setup.
I don't know. I really don't know. Perhaps that's one of those things that just makes you wonderful and it makes you stand apart. But I'll tell you what. Growing up when India used to struggle, we didn't like 3 for 2.
No.
So 2 for 3 sort of felt more consoling.
How old are you? India wouldn't have struggled that much in the last 20 or 30 years. They did a bit in my early days.
Given.
There's an LBW here. And it's Wilson. And the umpire took a long, long time to give that. Maybe he was trying to find a way of thinking, how was that not out? And he has adjudged it that it had straightened sufficiently enough for Wilson, who was halfway down the wicket. In fact, it's... it is Wilson. He's the one out, so it's...
Australia 11. Lose another warrior. This was unnecessary. Umpire Shahan took his time.
He did take his time.
Nice.
It was the switch hit.
Plumb in
It was
front.
a little bit too early. And if you're going for the switch hit, it was premeditated. The ball has hit him plumb.
Yeah.
Just wondering why the umpire took his time. Maybe he thought there could have been a little bit of inside edge. But again, Sinneth doing the job. He's got the outstanding figures. 2 for 8. Nana Paulus is the man coming in. So probably the 2 most experienced batters at the crease now for Australia. We've got a lot of work to do.
Yes, they got to bail Australia 11 out of this situation, and one thing to do so is for the situation to spell partnership. 92 of 77. Still would say this equation can be brought under control by targeting one bowler somewhere in between, but they need a period of calm at this stage because the spinners have been absolutely unleashed on Australia 11. They've figured out the right areas to be bowling as well.
Bowling all round and bowlers too. Tends to bat a bit lower for his Premier Cricket team, Frankston, and also when he was the star at Dandenong when they used to win premierships for fun. They're now down near the bottom as they go through a rebuilding phase.
That's a great habit.
Oh, that's a beautiful shot, that. What a start that is. Sweep shot on leg stump, and he's just picked a gap in front of square, the boundary for 4.
Wonderful shot indeed.
Maybe the shot of the day so far. He just made that look easy. It was like shelling peas. That
Yeah.
my nanny used to say. About, if I may say it, about giving birth. She used to say it's like shelling peas.
I love the way you play the pauses there. You just kept me on the hook.
It's a nice shot by Nana again as he carved it off the back foot and they get another run.
I feel they will have some elbow grease to show this time around with that dive. Oh, such a good shot. I think James Vanapoulos has come set.
5 from 2 and it's 3 from 45 in the 8th. They need a further 86 to win.
For an over that started exactly according to plan for Kalan, the scales have tilted very quickly. It's not like Australia 11 have run away with the game, but that some momentum has definitely been dropped.
Well, Australia need a big over. We had Sri Lanka have in the back end of their innings 3 big overs of 34. That allowed them to get to 131, and they lost those 2 to get to the 1 over. That's a Nathan Reardon shot that he plays all the time, the slog sweep along the ground in front of square on the onside. They got him into the Australian side for a couple of matches.
You ask,
T20 comp.
yeah, Dan, you ask a spinner what's the most irritating thing on a cricket field, he'll say a sweep shot.
Correct.
And the second best is when the captain doesn't take the DRS, believing you as a bowler.
Well, I think the most obvious DRS was in that test match when Ben Stokes got England home against Australia and they went for the one that wasn't out. The one that was out, they didn't have one left in the bank. I think you would have found that Australia would have won the Ashes in that test by a narrow margin because Stokes was plump. He was savage, he was out, as they say in this country.
Yes, so many twists and tails. I tell you what, I look at Nathan Lyon and I still believe he could have collected the ball and dislodged the wheels of the non-strikers in.
Oh, correct. Absolutely.
8 overs gone, 46 for 3. When was the last time that in a T20 contest like this we're discussing test matches and we both are bobbing our head and saying wow in our minds? You seem to be a connoisseur of the purest form of the game.
Oh, I love it. Well, look, I love all forms of the game.
Yeah.
But I've always loved the drama of test cricket, especially a low-scoring test match. I think a high-scoring test match is not as interesting as a low-scoring test match, except if you're getting some records that have been produced. But a low-scoring test match with balls dominating bat is just fascinating. And balls dominating bat here, even though the Australians are starting to score co-best experienced campaigners in Reardon and also Nanapoulos, who are at the crease at the moment.
I think the template is set. The Sri Lankan captain's looking around and thinking, who can ball spin? Put your hand up.
Well, Pereira's bowling now.
Yeah. I think Kulasekara is feeling left out right now.
Well, I'll need him at the end. He's their best bowler, no doubt. And as long as he plays in the tournament, even though they'll predominantly play spin, he's the medium pacer that they'll use.
Right.
Brilliant one-day bowler he was. When they were still a very strong side and had Joel Warder in the team. Sankara, as we discussed earlier, in Dilshan, he was right up there among their best in one-day cricket. He went Kulasekara.
So true.
Down the ground.
You mentioned Dilshan. One of his biggest givings to T20 cricket is that they'll scoop.
Yes.
You don't play or you don't attempt to play that unless you have a dental insurance. But if you get it right, you get the most flashy boundary ever.
Well, you do.
Dan.
You do. I mean, look, it's a very hard shot to play, isn't it? And to watch players play it and be premeditated and think, okay, well, I'm going to go for this shot on the basis that the ball is going to be coming middle stump or just short of a length. So I'm going to be able to get enough leverage to be able to play it over my head and over the wicketkeeper's head cleverly and get the runs.
There it flies.
Real wicket though. He's into the wind.
Gone. What a good catch.
He's been caught. It was a good catch because the fielder was tumbling out of deep mid wicket and it was bobbling and bobbling, but he managed to hang on to it. Kulasekara has taken an excellent catch out the deep.
Yeah, out of all people, Kulasekara now put one down a little early, but he's taken the difficult attempt. The difficult catch is taking it with ease in the head. Bit of a tumble to break the floor, but that's all right. He was also shrinking himself because he saw that the boundary rope was fast approaching.
Nathan Reardon is out. No, Reardon is the man out. And the new man in.
This is Harakiri from Australia 11.
Yeah, so we're in a bit of trouble here.
They went for the big shot, yes, but...
The Sri Lankans were in trouble and they found a way, but they had Mahoti, who was basically anchoring the innings and getting support.
The CSK used to call it the Badrinath effect. They need someone like that. Badrinath, 20 for 2, he would disappear somewhere in the batting lineup. I mean, if you're 70 for no loss, he'll disappear, that is. If you're 20 for 3, he would be there out there to try and play the 20 overs. So they need somebody who can stick to one end and anchor this run chase from here. Australia 11. But who's going to put his hand up? Sahan Pereira is amongst the wickets as well. This procession needs to stop. The shot selection for Australia 11, that's been very questionable. The intention is right, of course, to break some momentum.
Short tantrum, but we'll just confirm who that is. Suhas.
It's a half-hearted appeal.
Away from maybe being caught behind. So 4 for 49 in the ninth. And Australia a long way away here, 83 runs required.
That's what I read. The moment he turned first ball, I read that.
70 balls.
Such lovely drift he gets in the air, Sahan Pereira. The one Kulasekara with that catch, it was terrific.
Yeah, Engaran is the new batter, just confirming that. Resting on the shoulders of James Nanapoulos here. From an era veteran, been at the Dan Lonigan School of Hairdressing. I'll take my cap off. Can't grow grass on a busy street. So, you're a young man, mate. You've still got plenty left. As is Parko, who's to become a father soon, and his lovely wife Lisa. I'm old. That's why I've got no hair.
Don't know about calling the game, but I'm learning live on commentary. Oh, that's a great attempt. It's not often that you make that split-second decision to try and convert it into a catch or take it on the bounce. But you still stop the ball when you choose the latter. 51 for 4.
They keep making the changes. Mahoti, who was bowling from the far end. Probably Casey South Melbourne Cricket Club end. And he's now going to be bowling the southern end.
Yeah, that's a scorecard that you want to look away if you're an Australian fan. 52 for 4 and 9. But they bat really deep.
4 for 52 on E2. Resting, as I say, on the shoulders of James Nanapoulos. Anger, and of course, bowled so well earlier today, is another important member of this team. He's played a lot of cricket over the years. Good shot driven through the covers, but it'll be stopped out in the deep.
I think that's not a bad option at all. Let the ball turn, let the ball do its thing, try and play it late. If they've borrowed a leaf out of Sri Lanka's batting book, then it sort of worked for them. Oh, risky. And a lot of ball watching indeed. The single will eventually be complete. James was engulfed in the shot that he's just played. Forgot to run.
But Engerin was the right man there, because you would have learnt playing junior cricket, Suhas, that when the ball goes behind the wicket, it's the job of the non-striker to call. And he's called,
Right.
and obviously either he wasn't listening, or as he said, he was ball watching. And of course, it took a while to get going. But he makes his ground, no harm done. They just need to get as many runs as they can. And it's over. And it's easier said than done, but they've got to have a couple of big overs, which the Sri Lankans did to get their score up. 34 off 3 overs in a period there between overs 15 and 17. And that's good bowling right on line. When you get a batter up, all you can do is pat it into the onside. That's called bowling to your field.
And I also love the fact that the fielder is not patrolling the edge of the 30-yard circle. He wants to stop the single. Very attacking fields at this. They've been relentless, Sri Lanka 11, picking up wickets on regular intervals.
Sri Lanka very determined, of course, in this tournament. Their coaching consultant was one of the great T20 limited over bowlers. Talking of Nuwan Kulasekara, we're talking of Lasith Malinga, who's part of their coaching team.
Just imagine Vinu Mahoti, Aingaran as well after the game. Everybody rubbing shoulders with the legends of the game. That's what Aussie Cricket League 2.0 brings you. You learn a lot.
Muhammad Amir is playing for Pakistan. Cameron Akmal as well. I know they're two controversial figures, but two outstanding cricketers. I mean, I think Muhammad Amir might have been one of the all-time greats. Western Akron thought they found another me. When he was 17 years old, he took 5 wickets as a teenager, and unfortunately, his career never really got going after he was suspended. But that's all still to come. That's a nice shot, getting it past the fielder at a squarish fine leg position as he noodled it around the corner with a fair bit of ferocity, that shot from Engerin. And that's 10 overs gone. It's 4 for 61 as Suhas has a rest, and the great Darren Parkin comes back in to join me for the next 5 overs. Welcome back, Parkhurst. They're in 72. So they're on 6 and over. The run rate needs to be just over 7.
Yeah, the rough comparison would be quite similar. I think Sri Lanka would have been at about this position at the halfway point. They were obviously able to have, it was Kure come in with a cameo 37 off 20-odd balls, hit 3 sixes and another couple of boundaries and looked really sharp. Australia need to find that from somewhere. Just a couple of partnerships. You ended up being bang on. I think 130 is about par score. And it's going to turn out that I think this is going to go down to the wire. And yeah, Lasith Malinga. No, but yeah.
120 was more than enough generally, but 130 will be very, very challenging.
You pointed out Lasith
Like
Malinga standing down there in the full kit for Sri Lanka. Took 4 wickets in 4 balls in a World Cup match against South Africa. With that very slingshot bowling action, you think of, obviously Jeff Thompson had that round arm sort of action, but Lasith, or Slinger Malinga as he was often known, had that real sort of very difficult to pick up, coming almost at chest height.
Pereira, and this is a lovely shot, swung down the ground. Good piece of fielding at long on, had to make up some ground. Does the tumble turn and they come back for 2 with half pike, probably worth an 8.5 out of 10 in diving terms. 2 runs, it's 4 for 63 now.
Yeah, James Nanopoulos, really important contribution. He bowled pretty well, and now with some middle order runs, the captain is going to have to play very well for his team to win this game.
12 not out. Pereira with him again, the left arm. Darts it in. He pulls the next delivery again down the ground towards mid-wicket in front of the scoreboard. Again, they come back for 2. You know how quick that outfield is.
Down to the Berwick side of the stadium.
Needs to, of course, make sure that he keeps it along the ground if he's playing to this side of the ground, which is where the pavilion is, because the ball will drop short, as we saw with Kulaseka taking the catch to dismiss the dangerous Nathan Reardon. Pereira again tosses it up. He goes down the ground. The inside out drive. The fielder again at long off does the tumble turn. That's a reverse pike worth 10 out of 10. That wins him the gold medal. But 3 twos in a row for James Nanopoulos.
Yeah, brilliant fielding. Mahodi it was down there that did the job. That was excellent. Nanopoulos straight over the umpire's hat.
Again, a flatter delivery, and he just plays a beautiful little shot as he works it away. Through third man. The fielder there's a bit squarer. He manages to cut it off with his shoe. And 4 twos in a row, so 8 runs from the over. Probably the most profitable over for Australia so far. And they're 4 for 67, or for our friends in India on Punjabi Radio, 67 for 4 in the 11th over.
And low risk. And low risk, too, absolutely.
Yep. All along the ground. Here he goes again. He drives into the covers. Who's deep, but unfortunately, they nearly yorked him. A good delivery, and he wasn't able to score. But a good over for Australia. He's got 18. And at 4 for 69.
I like that tradition. I was first exposed to that. The first overseas series I remember as a kid was the 1993 Ashes series. Listening to bits and pieces of that, I was very young, and hearing the score said like that, Australia are 87 for 2. Yeah, it was a bit of an eye-opener. Then I realised that everybody else on Earth does it that way, just not us. I don't know, maybe just to be different. Even the Kiwis don't do it, do they? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's like... you know, the Americans spell certain words differently, like they drop the U out of colour. Maybe it's just us being different.
They drop the ING too, the Americans.
Yeah.
Even educated people.
As we see Sinath bowling again, as Suhas pointed out to us earlier, dons the red headband as he's a massive fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of all things. Just playing the conditions here. We know it's difficult out there with the wind. The Australians taking minimal risks. They're running well between the wickets. They're slowly closing this gap. Required run rate just on 7, 63 off 54. So still in hand. If this partnership can take them to within, say, 30, 35 runs of victory.
Got 18 off 13, Nanopoulos. And he drives fluently again. That's a good shot.
They're almost approaching this like the middle stages of a 50-over run chase, where you get that 15-over period where it just nudges it around into gaps, and that's okay. The equation's still in check for them.
His final over, his figures 2 for 15. He'd be pretty happy with that in this form of the game. And now he drives, and square drives. Got one down at the middle end. Front foot forward then. Andrew, 4 overs, 1 for 13. In Sri Lanka's 8 for 131. Another flatter delivery that swung around the corner. The sweep shot out to deep backward square for 1. Probably hit it too firmly, and the fielder was able to get there and ensure there's only 1.
Bit of variable bounce, I think, in these conditions, making it a little bit difficult for batsmen to maintain a rhythm. And yeah, Sinath, terrific figures.
Yes, Sinath again. And another ball is right down the ground. A great piece of fielding.
It was. I reckon he's going to be filthy at the half chance, but it was only a half chance. It's more a good stop than anything else. Oh yeah, it's more about saving the runs. Yeah.
This time though, he goes to the onside of the pitch, which wasn't covered by Sinath, and down to long on as he plays pretty well. Nanopoulos driving hard and driving firmly and looking good, the left-hander. Another reasonable over for Australia.
60 off 48, the requirement, or 59 off 48 rather. So 8 overs, required run rate 7.1 or thereabouts. Sineth 2 for 18. Pereira with a wicket. Kulasakara getting a terrific scalp very early in the piece.
Well, they had a period there where they were 4 wickets as well, when there was a good partnership put together, wasn't there?
Yep.
Kudray and also Mahoney.
And that got them to the point where they could launch in the back overs. Australia, as I said, I think they've got to take this partnership to within 30, 35 runs of victory and still be within striking distance. Jayasundra, I think it's going to be to bowl from the Cranbourne end of the stadium.
Ready again. And he flicks this one and safely over the infield. Down again towards deep mid-wicket on the onside. Played that nicely off his toes.
Just can't quite find the boundaries. Timing them pretty well and picking gaps and getting a couple.
Bowling dash at the moment. Bowling in the sunglasses. And this is driven down the ground fluently. And that's a boundary. Magnificent shot. Split the gap, parting of the Red Sea. Thought the two fielders might have had a cover, but was hit hard and firmly and fluently and brilliantly. Used his feet. As well as we've seen all day, he gave it some air then, Jayasundra. And Nanapoulos was able to drive through the onside and had so much on it that Long On wasn't able to protect it or stop the boundary. 4 for 79 now, Australia.
Good cameo, 26 off 18 and 24 of the 34 runs in this partnership, putting Australia in front in the game.
And now he's on the back foot and he works it away. Pass backward point, who tried to cut it off, couldn't. They come back for a couple. Fielding a deep backward point again. It's 4 for 81.
Playing the perfect role, 28 off 19, and he's tightened that equation up now, 51 off 45, so almost back to a run of ball. 6.8 the requirement.
Needing to stay there, but as we saw, when Michael arrived on top, Ben Lachlan got a couple of wickets and slowed it down again. This one's on the leg stump, he flicks it off the thigh pad, down towards a whitish fine leg. He's not quite getting his length or his line right this over Jayasundra. Bit short, bit wide, bit fallen on that occasion, angling down the leg stump.
And now they need a wicket. Certainly, they're not going to be able to clamp this up, I think, the whole way through. They're going to have to break this partnership.
And Gerard gets one that's tossed up and it's driven down the ground to Long On, a whitish Long On position. And he's doing the right thing at the moment, and Gerard. He is just turning the strike over, knowing that Nanapoulos is the man for Australia on 29.
Yeah, 10 off 10. Perfect, as you say, just nudging singles and allowing Nanapoulos to get the twos and the boundaries.
Samantha with a shorter one. This is pulled around the corner. He'll keep the strike out towards mid-wicket.
It's 11 off that. So 4 for 84, 48 off 42 is the requirement.
Solomon's coming in off the fence to do the fielding. He made 21. Mahoney got 44 and Woodray 37. Lachlan took 3 for 20.
You're going to see, you'd think Lachlan end up being the leading wicket taker in this tournament. There's a very big chance that he'll be prominent. Yeah, that's right. And it's just those changes of pace, his accuracy at the death. You just can't get him away. They've got to try to invent things to score off him. It just proves very difficult.
7 overs left.
The wind, you can see, for those that have got the model, you got the bales getting blown off, which is often one of those little things that happens in these conditions. Umpires have got to be vigilant on stumpings and things like that.
When you look at the wicket too, there's hardly a scare of a grass on the dash, as the curator said to me. It's flat as a night card. Round the wicket, Mahoney bowls again. It's flicked away on the onside again by the busy and reliable Nanapoulos, or Manopoulos, depending where you're from. 4 for 85 in the 14th over. And he's made 31 off 22. Very impressive.
Mahoney, one of the taller spin bowlers.
Yes. over. They just get one, and again, Andrew Arn doing what he may not have been told to do, but feels was the best thing to do. He's an experienced cricketer. Made over 5,000 runs, averaging in the mid-20s. Hiding in again, and Nana Paul's lovely late cut. A bit of work to do, just gets it past the third man, who is a bit squarer than the usual third man position. He manages to cut it off because he only got one of his magnificent soft hands. I love the way the batters allow the ball to hit the bat dash and take the pace off it, or play the pace to their own advantage. Mahodi again, an inside edge. Doesn't get a run. He's normally got a run of every ball. Andrew Arn, and it squeezes out to the onside.
I know they've had the heavy reliance on spin, but given Kulaseka's role as a strike bowler and this partnership, whether they need, as that one's just pushed to mid-wicket for no run, whether they need to just roll the dice for an over, changing things up, getting a little bit of pace in there and have Kulaseka maybe try to break this partnership. Because they need it pretty soon, the Sri Lankans, if they are to get through here.
Andrew Arn.
Got his run up all over the place. I think he... I'll happily...
Okay, it was a little bit high. He took the outside of the bat then and wandered away to backward point. I think he was looking to play on the side then. Andrew Arn gets another run.
We've only got an over left together on air, but that's a hill I'll die on in cricket. If a batsman is man-catted, is it entirely the fault of the batsman? Entirely the fault of the batsman. My view is if a batsman sneaks out of his crease, that's every bit as unethical as a bowler whipping the bails off. If he's... To me, it's a case of if a bowler whips the bails off because the batsman's out of his... Yeah, but if you're backing up, you're actually sneaking a metre or two closer. Stay in your crease and you won't get man-catted. Simple as that. Potentially, yeah, but they're not... But if you've got, say, a 22-yard pitch, I know it's a very unpopular opinion in Australia, but if you were man-catted, it's because you deserved it. That's my view.
Certainly Sagana Park was all those years ago by Alan Hurst. He was going to be 10 metres down the crease. This is cut away by Andrew Arn out to deep cover.
If a bowler oversteps, it's a no ball. So if a batsman's creeping, a little bit closer and he's out of his crease, he's shortened the distance from point A to point B. He stood out of his ground. I know it's unpopular, but I've always been one. I've been very big on that when they posted all of those videos in socials now. I can think of one very good way to avoid it.
Well, I've got no issue with someone having an opinion if we put a view forward. Dash, I'm not going to argue with you on it. It's very well done. Nana Paul is beaten by the quicker one by Jaya Sundra. He was down the ground and the bails have been whipped off by Mappa, and this match might have turned again. 5 for 89. Nana Paulis or Nanopolis is out stumped for 32 by Mappa off the bowling of Jaya Sundra, the quicker one, and he's beaten the Australian captain who batted very, very well for his 32. Dan?
He did, and he's going to walk off shaking their head because he goes at a really important stage too. He was the key, and we spoke about how Sri Lanka were going to break that partnership, what they were going to do, whether it was bringing back Kulaseka or bringing in some pace, just pushing fields up to try to put a little bit of pressure on. And in the end, they backed in young Jayasundra, the spinner, to bowl the last over of his spell. And he gets the wicket, and it's a big one too. 43 off 34, so there was one relatively tight over, and then they get the in-form bat. So it's a really, really strong result.
The wicketkeeper Sam Newell's come to the crease. I thought he kept very tightly.
He did.
Have to bat well. So
Certainly did.
Home, and maybe Angaran has to change the way he bats. And that is, I won't say be more aggressive, but maybe take a few more risks. As the game tightens up again, we're in the 15th over. Australia need 33. And basically, it's 14.2 overs. According to the scoreboard, they need 33 off 34 balls.
They do. So it's 7.59 is the required rate. Big wicket for Jayasundra, who's got 4 balls to finish this spell.
1 for 24. Gill's another left-hander. And the good thing about this Australian team is there's been some left-handers in there, and it's Sri Lankans challenge themselves a bit. Work at the left-handed, right-handed combination.
Well, keeper's got 2 stumpings too. It's always a valuable thing to have as a keeper, to have a couple of stumpings next to your name.
Good job, Matt. Batted okay too. Sundra bowls. Newell works it through the onside for 1. There is no one inside the circle on the onside. The fielders are deep, and they really probably should have shown more intent to run for 2, because Sundra had to do his own work. Those little legs were pumping. A little bit like the professor in the Wacky races, where he had those little legs pumping on his very old machine.
Was he the one driving with Muttley?
No, that was Dick Dastle.
Oh yes. One of the great shows of my childhood. You had the father and son dogs, and
yes, correct. The anthill mob.
Brilliant.
In again, gives it air.
Oh. Should have. Yeah.
Was in all sorts of trouble. I think the back foot had slipped out of the crease, and he might have jarred his ankle as well as he gets up limping.
He's kept brilliantly too. Yeah.
Take it cleanly. Should have been a third stumping. It's not. The Jaya Sundra has got the Australians under pressure. 5 for 90 near the end of the 15. This time he gets a top edge to a sweep. But gee, it lands perfectly right in the middle of mid-wicket, just for 1. Certainly didn't get that in the middle. It swirled in the air, but lands safely.
It's amazing.
And it is now 5 for 91.
It's amazing what that wicket has done too. The required run rate's gone from about 6.5 up to nearly 8 in the last sort of 6 or 7 deliveries.
Keep saying it's a simple game. Get a wicket. Match turns. Jayasundra bowls again. Standing tall in the crease. Jayasundra didn't take that cleanly. Again, the field is far flung on the onside, and he has to do his own work. And he'd be disappointed with that he's given away a missed field a run. And it's 5 for 92. So we've got 5 overs to go. There is 30 needed of 30 balls. Darren Parker will describe the action for the last 5 holes. 5 overs. Angarana's 14. Sam Newell is on 2. Nanapulis out in that over for 2.
So 40 runs required, and yeah, just everything so tight. That little single given up on a slight misfield towards the end. Oh, so crucial. We might continue that conversation around man-catting. I'll throw a left field one at you that might be slightly
Look, I like your view.
controversial.
I don't necessarily agree, but I've got no issue with someone having an opinion. Opinions are like backsides or noses on your face. We've all got
Oh, that's right. And I know
you can back your opinion up.
my view is that if batsmen are allowed to switch hit and things like that, if a batsman can switch from being a right-hander to a left-hander, I reckon there's a lot of things in the batsman's favour. And I reckon creeping out of your crease shouldn't be one of them. But that's only my view on it.
Change it from Mancat to run out.
And I reckon it was probably slightly disrespectful to Mancat. It was a very good cricketer whose career was defined by that action largely. And that was, yeah, very tight in it off stump. He thought about sort of squirting that through the vacant slip region. And in the end, just playing over the top of it and no run.
He's had 7 dot balls now.
He has, and he's got another one here, again, a little bit quicker, just over the top of off stump. And it was tempted to go after it, and that run rate now up to 8.3. Looking at Lasith Malinga, he's looking pretty relaxed with himself. Now he's hoiked that over mid-wicket. The Steve Waugh special on the bounce to the fielder in the deep. And they'll come back for 2 on the misfield. And you see McCotty putting his head down there between his knees, frustrated, thinking that should have been 1. And they got back for 2.
Got a boundary or cleared the fence.
That has been the area where they've been able to pepper. Goes with the switch hit on the pads and not out.
Played that properly. That ball wasn't straight enough to play it. He'd come across his stump stack.
Well,
he headed towards the leg side to play that.
Second time we've seen a switch hit attempted today, and both times it's gone pretty horribly wrong. And he goes again, and this time he jams it down, and he's been given very, very slowly. It was a late decision. That's the Rudy Kurtzen special. That's the slow finger of death there.
Gave another Australian out who was halfway down the wicket. LB.
Yeah, and it was a very Rudy Kurtzen with the slow rise. It only goes up above the eyes, doesn't go straight up in the air.
Like
what a Billy Bowden's bent finger.
It was all about him. It was all about Rudy Kurtzen. It's not about the umpires. I like these umpires at the moment at international level with Paul Rival. I know he's very laid back, and the Rod Tuckers and the Chris Gaffneys and the Richard Kelly and the Thomas Sanka.
The best action is the round arm dismissal where it comes up like a windmill from the side, I reckon, rather than just the straight up. A big appeal, and eventually he got his way there, Hottie, and it's a massive dismissal. 6 for 94 now. That run rate creeps up over 9. And the batsman, Dan, didn't learn the lesson. He went to switch, made a mess of it, went to switch again, gone.
Well, Dean McDonald's in now, and he's the Cranbourne boy, so they're hoping for big things from him.
He knows the area.
He knows the ground. They play, of course, in the second division, or Turf 2 as they call it, in the Dandenong District Cricket Association, like a number of competitions in Melbourne that play on turf. They had to reschedule their season. The Premier Cricket did as well when they lost most of the first month due to all the rain dash.
That one is just dropped down into the offside, and they'll get off the mark with a single. But the situation tightening up. He is.
So I'll get him to come in and...
It's 6 for 95.
I'll chase up an Indian team for us. We've got the Pakistan team. We're looking forward to that game coming up. We've got a great finish coming up here as well. With, what is it, 36 runs needed from 4 overs.
Dandenong got on the hunt to finalise our 11s for that huge blockbuster rivalry match between India and Pakistan, scheduled to start in half an hour or so. 4 overs left in this contest. Suhasins, we welcome you back. 2 overs ago, Australia were well ahead. Not anymore. Sri Lanka very much in the advantage with a required run rate at 9.25.
Yeah, thank you, Dash. I think it's the dot balls that have done the trick here. Single scoring has been very difficult for Australia, and that's something that will be discussed after this game as well, irrespective of the result.
Yes.
The boundary percentage and the dot ball percentage.
Definitely. The switch hit. He put away Pereira back into the attack. Taker already today. To McDonald, who gets a little bit of width, cuts but can't beat cover, no run. Sahan Pereira has already picked up a wicket, 114. His 2 overs previously. McDonald again chips that one in the air, down past mid-off, just the one. Still need a further 36 runs to win from 22 deliveries. Sri Lanka very much the favourite outcome.
Yeah, and the singles are not going to win it for them. Australia need to target at least a couple of balls in this over.
And they sweep that one off, sort of middle and off stump, down to deep mid wicket, but again just a single.
Eingeren's getting the singles and singles only. It's not for the lack of effort, but he's not targeting the gaps. And Sahan Pereira is generating a lovely bit of drift. As a batter, you tend to play down the wrong line.
That one's worked off the square, fine, down to a short third man for a single. 6 for 98, but again, as Suhas was saying, that's not going to get the job done. Required run rate will be up around double figures now. They've got to hit at least a boundary and over. And that one is worked through a vacant mid-on. They run the first one pretty casually. They will come back for the second, and they'll be run out by quite a distance. They were a bit too hesitant on that first single. Tried to come back for the second, and well short of their ground, and some desperation creeping into the Australians there. That was never on, and they've lost their 7th wicket, and the defending champions have got one hand on victory.
I think there was 2 on it.
Definitely, they just ran too casually, yeah.
Eingeren was certain that there was 2 on it, but little did he realize there was a bit of a stutter. And Dean, he had too much to do in the end. I would be very surprised if he even made it to the frame.
Well, we'll have a look at that one. It was just down to long on.
And Vinu almost was waiting that he's delivered the package at the right place.
He's had 44 with the bat. Took a wicket in the previous over, and now a run out.
He's making his presence felt in all departments of this wonderful sport. And no matter how hard Australia are trying, they're not getting past the single run mark.
No, they aren't. That's right. And he earned himself player of the match honours, barring something remarkable happening here.
Now, Angaran's been there for 19 deliveries and 15 for red is not something that you want to show when it required red's climbing up and singing its own song.
So Angaran, the senior player here, tries to turn it around the corner, gets a little bottom edge on it, and will pick up just a single for it. And Ben Lachlan, a lot of experience late in innings, particularly with the ball. He's now going to have to produce a cameo with the bat here coming in at 9.
Sahan Pereira has answered above and beyond his call of duty. Just 3 runs of it and a wicket and 2 precious dot balls, 1 in the beginning, 1 at the end. 98 for 7.
So they need 34 with a required run rate now, nearly 11. 3 overs ago, it was about a run at 4. Situation changing quickly. It's 34 of 18. It can be done if you clear the fence a couple of times. You get 1 over at 14 or 15 here and change the equation back. It's unlikely. Pereira's still got 1 up his sleeve for
And
the latter stages of his innings. And Kulaseka are the quick who open the bowling. First time we've seen pace since his spell at the start. And he's going to bowl overs 18 and 20, you would think.
Yeah, Kulaseka, the only man in history of cricket to bowl the first ball of a World Cup and the last ball of a World Cup.
That's a hell of a stat. So I'm guessing that would have been, is it 2011?
Ask an Indian, yeah.
I'm just trying to think of times they made the final. So 2007 and 2011, obviously they made the final.
Yeah,
He wouldn't have been there in 07. So
right.
2011, they got all the way through and got beaten by India in that final.
No, in the meet and greet last night as well, I asked him about this and he sort of was a little quizzed and realized, oh yeah, that's true. That's the upshot of the game so far, that is.
He got a big wicket. He got the first wicket of the innings. And that started the ride. Got Sri Lanka into this contest. He's bowling from the opposite end here. And he opened up from the, I guess you'd call it the
Dash, I've got a question for you, Dash. When you see that everybody else is a spinner around you, sometimes as a bowler are you tempted to shorter your run up? If you're a pacer, that is.
maybe in the nets, just bowl a few offies and think, oh yeah, I can do it too. They get the single, it brings the 100 up, but you sense it's a little bit too late. Where do you sit? Well, I was talking to Dan before on the man-catting debate. I was very big on, I have a lot of sympathy for the bowler. I think it's the batsman's fault. Where do you sit on it?
I'm with you on that one. You cannot be allowed to steal inches when the game's being decided by inches at the end of it. Look how many times the crucial singles, even though the throw is at the other end, the batter has just about made it, and we don't question if he got a start at the beginning or no. You do not get an advantage in this story.
100%. As that is Hoyt high over mid-wicket on the bounce. There was a temptation to come in off the line and maybe have a bit of a dive at that, but played the safe option. They know that a single isn't going to hurt them. 7 for 101. A bit of a signal of intent there from Lachlan. First ball he faced was a lofted ball over mid-wicket.
Australia's that century that came up, it wasn't greeted with a lot of celebration because the wickets column is ticked by too far.
It has do something special here. That one is again played in the air on the bounce. They've got one. They really need to be pushing hard there, but only the 3 wickets in hand. It's another single, so Kulaseka are doing his job. 1-1-1. Mid-fence is fine for him.
I like the fact that Kulaseka has decided to keep it very, very simple. He's not looking for wickets. He's just trying to take this game as deep as possible. And he's making sure that the bowler who bowls after this, the penultimate over, is inheriting a scorecard in his team's favour.
Lachlan, he went hard the first time. He came down the track. Bowler saw him coming. Went fuller and at the body. He'll get 2 though. And that's pretty comfortably done down into the deep. Solomon's involved in fielding there. 7 for 104. 28 needed off 14 balls. So exactly 2 runs of all for Australia to win.
Now, Ingrin's effort of 18 or 22 is not serving the cause at this stage. He needs to get a move on and as quickly as possible. Ben Lachlan has been the more experienced campaigner out of the two. He's finished brilliant games in the past.
Since he'll go hard here, he does. Hasn't got enough of it, and he'll be out surely. He is. They track back and take the catch. And it was Ruwadi who takes the catch comfortably there. And Lachlan, look, he had to go that way. It's certainly not his fault they find themselves in this position, but he's the 8th wicket to fall for 104. And Sri Lanka now surely know that they're going to start their defence of a title with a W.
Yeah, W in 2 places perhaps. One, of course, alongside Nawan Kulasekara for the wicket. He's just kept it simple. I think it's the first delivery that he bowled with an intent to pick up a wicket as slow as he can get. And it's a very good catch.
I think Ben Lachlan would have an appreciation for that. He might even nod his head to Kulasekara. And yep, as a fellow death bowler, that's well done. That's a nice slower ball into the body. That's what I would have done.
Yeah. It's always a great tussle as well when the international quality is up against again another international quality.
Exactly, that's right. Two players with so much experience, two of the real players to watch if you're going to come down and have a look at this tournament. Kulasekara is a clear point of difference, obviously, in an attack that's built around spin. He's the quicker, he's now got 2 for 16. He just had the man of the match trophy plonked in front of us. There's a few contenders for that. Nice fuller Yorker length delivery that's just jammed down into the onside for a single. So 6 runs and a wicket off the over. 2 overs to come. 5 Australia. 27 runs needed off 12 deliveries. Credit certainly to initially, if we look at Agathan's performance, so Angaran's performance with the bat during the partnership where he was there with Hanapoulis, that was fine. He's obviously got to take a senior role now. Yep. He was okay to hit singles when Hanapoulis was blasting boundaries. He's still something of an experienced batter at the crease, so he's someone who can find the boundary. Dan, of course, Pete Laser is donning the Melbourne Stars shirt. There's a gentleman in a Melbourne Stars Santa hat in front of us. We'll get Pete to whack a signature on that whilst he's here. As that's pushed down to long on, they probably needed to turn that into 2 and just get the single.
Yeah, you wanted this game to get closer, of course, but that can only happen if there's a counter-attack somewhere lurking in Aingaran.
That one is smashed down on the bounce to long on. Again, they'll get just a single for it. It's creeping away.
Yeah, it's not a good sign after 23 deliveries. You're wondering, did I really carry the middle of the bat to the middle?
Yeah, that's right. And he's going to have to find the middle with pretty much everything from here. Tossed up again. And Wade missed outside off stump. Lost balance. Creeping forward there as Durban, it is that's out there at the moment.
Yeah, this game's painfully dragging on for Australian fans. Sri Lanka rejoice. They've started the party already. 25 of 11. Every ball's got to have an appointment with the boundary rope. And this one didn't.
No, it didn't. Again, just on the bounce to long on. And another single. Pereira's got a couple to go. And what's been a very nice spell for him, having a consultation around the player of the match for this contest. And Mahodi with his 44. Also administered a run out before wickets with the ball.
Vinu, one of the contenders.
Yeah, absolutely. Been very, very good. As that one is again played high on the bounce out to the deep, and they'll only get just the 1 run for it.
Sahan's not really happy. He thought that should have been converted into a catch. The fielder in the deep is wondering, the game's almost in the pocket. Why do I risk an injury at this stage? Where do you sit on this one?
Closes out his spell. It's been a very effective one. 1 for 22 from his 4 overs. Sri Lanka just about home. Australia mathematically obviously they want to produce a 23 run over that would get them home, and it's just difficult to see in these conditions and against this bowling any chance of that happening, especially with the experience ball in hand here of Kulasekara. He's done this in World Cups. He looks like he should be able to close this out for his team. Credit to Vinu Mahodi, certainly. He held his wicket together when wickets were falling around him. Set the platform for Sri Lanka's score. Helped turn the screws of the ball. A big run out at the end to effectively finish the game as Kulasekara drops one in short and it's cut down to the sweeper. They really did need to come back for 2 there, and certainly It was Angaran who was keen, but just didn't have that support from Durban at the other end. He's going to have to clear the pickets right off the bat here.
Absolutely. Yeah, Kulasekara is making the batter wait for eternity for the ball to arrive. Once he leaves, it just floats up in the air. These are words that are usually used for a spinner.
Durban gets a full delivery when he just cuts down behind square for a single. So Australia, I think, resigns to the outcome of this game, just playing out time.
When was the last time you would use that phrase? Yeah. You thought you'd use that phrase for T20 cricket. It's playing out time.
Particularly with an Australian team on home soil.
A little far from here. What are Australia up to at the Gabba right now?
Yeah, well, they had South Africa in a bit of bother in the second. That's a test match that's probably going to end in 2 days. So Australia made 100. Sorry, South Africa 152. South Africa then bowled Australia out for 100 or 218, which was a 66-run lead. South Africa at 979. So they lead by 13 runs. So Australia are going to knock that victory over before day 2 is done. Which 2-day test matches at the Gabba, it's pretty rare. That's pushed down to long off and just the single.
I heard that cricket is being squeezed right now because of the sudden rains in Melbourne.
Yes.
A lot of at the club level, somebody has sent that memo to international cricket as well.
Yeah, that's it. We only play 2-day test matches from now on. But certainly in the Premier Cricket, I think the first 4 weekends of the season are washed out, and we haven't had much luck really since. So last rights to be delivered on this one. It's dragged down into the onside. Again, they'll get just the 1 run for it. India and Pakistan moving across in front of us here, just getting ready for their contest, which is going to be a belter. 1 ball left in the innings. Sri Lanka defending successfully their score of 8 for 131. Australia 8 for 115. Kulasekara 2 for 23. Can he pick up a 3rd wicket to finish the contest? It's a good full delivery. There might have been a touch of bat in there. No, it's leg by, but not out, says the umpire. So 8 for 116. Sri Lanka secure victory in the first match of the Australian Cricket League 2.0. The defending champions off to a winning start. Australia just lost their way up, being in a pretty good position at 4 for 90 in that run chase. Suhas, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, 4 for 90. They really had it in their pockets there at that time, Australia, but they've lost the way due to some excellent bowling and great tactical captaincy. Sri Lanka have been relentless with their spin bowling options, and not just that, the fielders have been excellent in understanding what the batter would do. That preempting has what has got them to pick up a couple of crucial run-outs, and you see that's the difference.
Definitely, and Vino Mahodi, player of the match, 44, a wicket and a run-out. Really important contributions the whole way through, so he starts off with a player of the match gong. We're not too far away from a blockbuster between India and Pakistan. We'll press pause in a moment in readiness for that contest. Obviously, we started this match a little bit late, so a pretty short turnaround into that second contest. I know Suhas is on his first trip to Melbourne. Might be heading into Marvel Stadium a little bit later on for the big match between the Renegades and the Sydney Thunder. And of course, the Sydney Thunder's first match since they got bowled out for 15 during the week by the Adelaide Strikers. So they'll be keen to right forward with the bat. So a big afternoon of cricket still to come in here in Pakistan. And Johnny Middlebury listed on it. Brett Laser will come in the commentary team for the first time. We'll take a break. It is Sri Lanka victorious in match 1, 15 runs over Australia. Stay tuned. India and Pakistan. Thank you, Moss. Well done. Well done, mate.
Well, today's man of the match, Vinu Mahodi, great to be joined by you. A wonderful score of 44 personally, but how do you think your team went as a whole?
I think we did pretty well because the wicket was pretty slow at the start, and we managed to score 130 on the board, and with our spinners it was very defendable for us. Yeah.
And happy with your result, 44. It's a great score and great contribution to your overall team score.
Yeah, it was. I mean, for me, it was about just batting through till about 15 overs and rotating the strike and giving us a good platform to go in the back end. Yep.
And the first match here of the Aussie Cricket League against the home side of Australia, were you pleased with the outcome and having a great time here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting the first win on the board is very important in a short tournament like this. Yeah, very pleased.
Well, congratulations to you, man of the match, and congratulations to your team. We have Warren here, over here, to present you your man of the match trophy. And Warren is, of course, from Oswood Timber and Hardware. Well done. Well, well done to you, Vinu, and well done to the Sri Lankan cricket team as we head straight into the next match with India against Pakistan.